Okay, thanks Pradeep for confirming. Yeah, it's okay for you. Then yeah. Anyone any questions on yesterday's discussion? Fine. So we look into the process groups. Okay, we saw yesterday that this is a sort of a chart. We have some 47 processes. So we have this in page 61 of PMBOK, right? Project Management Book of Knowledge. Now, we perform two processes called develop project charter and identify stakeholders. Okay, so develop project charter we'll be discussing in detail when we go this way. Okay, for the first half an hour we'll be discussing the process groups. Okay, initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling and closing. Then we'll be starting each and every topic this way, right? So today we'll be completing up to monitoring and controlling project work, right? Now let's see what are the things we do in initiating process, right? So initiating is some sort of a pre-planning. Okay, so this is the stage when we bring a project into existence. So we'll discuss about it, how we do that. Okay, look at this. So initiating process group, this is a process that facilitates the formal authorization to start a new project or a project phase. So what actually happens is here, operations gives rise for a project. Okay, you could have several reasons why you have a project. It could be a sort of a marketing necessity. Okay, let's assume the price differential between diesel and petrol, it's so significant that petrol price is very high, okay, and diesel price is very low. Now the demand for diesel cars increases. Okay, so it could be a marketing necessity. You might have to have a project to replace a lot of your petrol engines with diesel engines. Okay, it could be a marketing necessity. Number two, it could be an organizational necessity. See, we might try to, the economy might be in the doldrums, let's assume. Okay, now we are having a tight resource crunch. We are not getting any payments from the clients. So we have a need to ensure economies in our operations. Okay, how can we do this? We can do this by cutting down layers of unnecessary flab, in the hierarchy. Okay, you can try to have a flatter organization. Or you might want to respond more proactively to the market, for which you have to have very lean structures, very lean structures, very flat structures, right? So you might require projects to bring about your process improvements, or you might have some quality initiatives underway, right, where you want to improve the processes. After all, quality is nothing but a process. Okay, so when you change process, you have quality. You don't get quality from product, you get it only from changes in the process. So it could be an organizational necessity. Okay, or it could be some sort of a social need. Okay, so if it's a government project, you have a lot of projects which don't really bring in some profits. Okay, so but they are a social necessity. Even corporates have this, have this corporate social responsibility, CSR. So every company has to earmark a part of its profits to contribute to socially responsible projects. You might, for example, you have this Barclays Bank, which is promoting football, right? So these are all things that don't really yield direct benefits in the form of profits, but then it shows the commitment to the society's good, So it only improves your brand equity. So that type of a thing is called corporate social responsibility. Okay, you can have safe drinking water projects like we have in India. Okay, or it could be some sort of a legal necessity. Okay, or it could be a regulatory necessity. Regulatory necessity may not entail any profits. Okay, but the profit is you'll be allowed to continue operations. Let's assume we have some sort of a tannery, which is just spewing waste into in a raw form into a river. Okay, so the regulatory provision is you must come with some sort of a sewage treatment plant. If you don't do that, the organization can be closed down. So this may not directly bring you any profits, but the profit is you can run the business without being closed down. Okay, so it could be a legal necessity. So it could be anything, or it could be a simple technology. You might want to take advantage of some technological thing, like for instance, you might want to move from a traditional desktop, thin systems to some sort of a cloud-based system, okay, where you don't have to invest too much on software, okay, and hardware. Just go pay as you use basis, right? So this could involve projects. So anything, any of these, okay, these are some examples where you can have need for projects. So whenever operations give rise to a need for a project, you create what is called as business case. Okay, business case, we'll be looking at it in project charter. Okay, not now, just understand, we'll be creating a business case. This is some sort of a decision support tool that justifies a project. Okay, so so this is all, this is called as pre-planning. We haven't yet started on the project, we are just doing something to pre-plan a project. Okay, then you come with an idea for a project. Then once you have a business case, that's converted into a project charter. Okay, so we have a separate process, project charter. We'll be discussing that later on. But this is what we're doing in initiating process group. So we'll come with a project charter, initiate and authorize a project. Then we'll also be identifying stakeholders. Okay, so when we start off a project, you have a type of stakeholders, okay, who have high authority. They are the ones who will take decisions about funding. They are the ones who can give a high visibility to this project, champion the cause, sell this idea of a project, and bring a project into existence. Okay, so that type of people, we identify them at the very outset. Okay, and we also mention them in the project charter. Okay, so we try to understand what their interests are, what their involvement is, what the potential impact on project success, and try to manage them. Okay, so this is what we do in initiating process group. That is, we come with a charter, we identify high-level stakeholders, and then launch of the project. Okay, now once we create a project charter and launch the project, from that point onwards, the project gets into the hands of the project managers. So we as project managers become responsible for creating project deliverables. We have all the authority that is required, all the resources that we asked for in our hand. Now it is our responsibility to plan. Okay, so what are the things we plan for? We plan for, number one, scope. Okay, we gather requirements and we come with some sort of a scope. Then we convert them to work breakdown structure. Okay, then that work breakdown structure, it's typically how it happens. You come with some sort of a requirements. Okay, then you come with a scope, then you come with some sort of a work breakdown structure, then you have work packages. Then in order to create these work packages, you define what are all the activities, then you sequence activities, okay, into a network diagram, right? Then you create some sort of a schedule for this Gantt chart for these activities. So you create a scope baseline, then you add money here in all these places, you come with a budget, and you create a cost baseline, and then you plan for the schedule baseline. Okay, then not only that, you also plan for quality. Okay, you plan for quality, then you plan for where do you get quality from? Quality is nothing but what the customers want. Okay, quality is nothing but conformance to requirements. So requirement documentation is where you get quality. So how do we plan for quality? Then what are the activities that we need to perform? For that, what are the type of people we are supposed to acquire? So you come with plan for human resources. Then we come with a plan for managing risks. Okay, so you, in planning process group, you create plans for all the knowledge areas. Okay, you establish scope, you come with a scope baseline, schedule baseline, quality baseline, cost baseline. Okay, so this is what you do in a planning process group. So one thing you must remember is we adopt a method called progressive elaboration. Yeah, there is a hand. I'll just answer. Yeah. Yeah, Pradeep, I unmuted you. Yeah, you can go ahead, Pradeep.
So actually, I want to understand the meaning of the baseline. Is it the max or a minimum? So we should not go minimum of that, or we should not go max of that. In case of a scope, I think that is a minimum, or it is a maximum. So what is exactly that baseline tells the program
Yeah,
manager?
yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you that. That's a perfect question. See, scope line is defined in a very funny way. Okay, Pimbox says scope line is something that you can change only through change control. Okay, so it doesn't say what it is. It says what it is not like. In other words, you decide what are all the things you have to do. For example, when you come with the scope statement tells about two things. Number one, it tells you what is inside, and it tells you what is not there. That is, it is defining what is outside. So it creates some sort of a boundary. Okay, so when we talk about scope baseline, it includes a sum total of all the work packages you may have in a work breakdown structure. So we have to deliver all this. It is not minimum, it is not maximum. It is what we have to do, that's all. So for example, if you have some 100 work packages, the sum total of all these work packages is called as a scope baseline. Okay,
So the
so
baseline is something like minimum.
yeah, minimum. Yes, that is minimum. You have to deliver this. Scope baseline is also always time phased. For example, right now we may have just 100 work packages. So going forth, we may have 120 work packages, or it could be even 90 work packages. Okay, so when we talk about baseline, it is always time phased. We may have something now, it may be something else later. So as you said, that is a minimum thing we have to deliver. Scope. And schedule, you have a schedule baseline. Schedule baseline is something which we say is going to have 10,000 activities. So for these 10,000 activities, this is the start date and this is the end date, and these are the milestones. That's all. It's a baseline. So you call it a baseline because once you create a baseline, you must maintain the baseline. There are two ways in which you can maintain a baseline. Number one, whenever there is a change in the actual data when compared to baseline, let's assume you have the baseline is like this. Okay, so it is 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, 5 months. So the project is so far going like this. Now slowly it has started exceeding the baseline. So you find there is some variance. Now there are two things you can do. If it is possible, you make this conform to baseline, the actuals. Or if that is not possible, you make the baseline conform to actuals. So when we create a baseline, it is our responsibility to maintain the integrity of the baseline. So that is what we mean by baseline. So whenever there's a change in the baseline, or whenever there are factors that can influence the course of the baseline, we must make some changes. Okay, it could be changes to the activities, or it could be changes to the actual baseline. Okay, so baseline, as you said, is the minimum we have to deliver.
Okay.
If it is scope, if it is schedule, this is the minimum time that we'll be taking. Then if it is cost baseline, it is a minimum amount that we require. We cannot have less than this. Okay, but when we actually say baseline, what we actually mean is it cannot be changed, or it can be changed only with through perform integrated change control process, only through official change control process. Okay, so when we come to integrated change control, we'll see what it is. Okay, Pradeep,
So
did I answer your point? Yeah.
yeah, just one more quick question related to this
Yeah.
only. So the scope and schedule, I can understand. We can go through the change control and we can get the things done. But how about the cost? Cost is something that stakeholder has to approve, right? So that
Exactly.
also has to go through again the change control, or is there any other way?
Even see, any change has to go to change control.
Okay,
Anything that impacts a baseline must go through change control.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, for instance, you might find some variances in the actual cost performance. Okay, so you have to escalate to the stakeholders through your work performance reports and ask for more money. Or if a change has already taken place, still you have to inform change control board and make changes to your cost baseline. Okay, so any changes in baseline, any of the baselines, whether it is cost, schedule, or scope, has to invariably go through change control board. Okay, did I answer the point?
Yes, I got it
Yeah,
now. I am clear now.
thank you. So these are all the things you do in a planning process. Okay, these are things like requirement traceability matrix. We'll see what they are as we go to those topics, right? Yeah, there's a hand. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, Cecilia. Yes, go ahead, Cecilia.
Um, Going back to the cost baseline, usually when you do the cost baseline and you
Mm.
are in the project server, you know how you have your hours for your resources, and then you put it in your projects in your Microsoft project in the project server, you
Mm.
can baseline the cost. You know, when you
Mm.
put in the task and you put in the hours for each resources, that would be
Mm.
called, also be called cost baseline.
Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Hours that
Yes.
you're using for the entire project.
Exactly.
That would be a
Exactly.
cost baseline.
Yeah. So you can
Yeah,
use
there is an
Microsoft
option.
Project.
Yeah, there is an option in Microsoft Project in the project server where you baseline your cost.
Exactly. You're right, Cecilia.
It
Yeah.
says baseline.
So yeah, what we do is we first identify activities, then we allocate human resources and material resources for these activities. Then you also, if you look into the human resource, you know what is the costing pattern for these people. Okay, for the human resources. For example, if it's a developer, you know, you might say that per day you have to charge $500, $600. So automatically that gets added to the cost baseline, isn't it? That's what you mean, Cecilia?
Yes,
So
yes. But
yeah,
then
yeah,
if there are changes, you do a change control. You know, if you have
exactly,
more hours, then you do a change control. And then you
exactly.
baseline again.
Yeah, you're right.
Many,
Yeah,
many, many different baselines. You can baseline up to 4, 5, depending on the change control. You
yeah,
always have to have a change request or change control.
exactly. Yes, you need to have a change request for everything. Okay, every
Everything.
even for a change that has already happened.
Yep.
If a change has already happened, you still have to appraise the change control board, and the stakeholders have to be informed of this change, and you have to update the respective baselines and the plans. Okay. Then we have exceeding process group. This is the one we saw initiating and planning. Then what do we do in executing? Okay, so as you can see, you will be directing and managing project work. That is, will actually be executing the plans, right? So when we execute plans, what happens? You come with deliverables. Okay, you come with deliverables. Then you come with data relating to deliverables. There are three types of data. I'll tell you what they are. Okay, there is a separate slide for that. There are three types of data. So you have here work performance data. That is raw data. Okay, you create data relating to deliverables. Then if you find that there is any non-conformity, you also generate change request. Okay, so there are three types of change requests. Again, there is a slide for that. We'll discuss that. Okay, so then here in execution, you create deliverables, you create data relating to deliverables, and wherever you find non-conformity with the plans, you come with change requests. Okay, so what else do you do here in this process group? You come with quality assurance. That is, you audit the quality management plan that has been created by the project manager and ensure that we have the right standards and definitions in place. Okay, and that we also have a method to demonstrate to the customer that we are complying with quality, right? So you also perform what is called as process analysis, okay, to make changes to the processes and improve the quality of the product, okay. So you have that in perform quality assurance. Then you would have come with a human resource management plan in the planning process, okay. This tells you what are the activities we need to perform and what type of people are required for this, okay. So in executing process, you acquire the project team, okay. So we know we'll be looking into the plan and finding out what are the different methods in which we can acquire, okay. So what are the things you have to first do before you start acquiring, okay. What are the things like resource histograms that you have to create to understand what is your current need and what are all the varying needs of the project as it starts delivering, okay. So you'll not have the same type of need throughout the project, okay. So as the project goes through different phases, what type of people have required, at what point of time are they required, okay. At what cost are you supposed to get them, what type of skills are you going to have. So all these things will be doing it in acquired project team. Then we'll be developing the project team and managing them, okay. That is, we'll be optimizing their performance. Then we'll also be communicating with stakeholders. We would have already come with a plan to communicate with stakeholders. We have hundreds of stakeholders. Each stakeholder might have a different need, okay, different format, different template, different technology, different periodicity, okay, different template. So we have to identify what these people are, what type of requirements they have. That we do in communication management plan communications. Here we'll be actually managing, implementing it, okay. Then in conduct procurements, what we'll be doing is we'll be entering into agreements, we'll be negotiating with people and entering into agreements so that they can start creating deliverables. The vendors would start creating deliverables for the project. Then you also manage the stakeholders. So these are all the things you do in execution stage, okay. See, so we'll be coordinating resources, cost, time, and human and material resources. Then results during execution may require updates to plans, baselines. So you recommend changes. We saw that. Then you'll be acquiring project team, managing, optimizing team performance, then managing stakeholder engagement, implementing quality standards and assurance, analyze quality control requirements, right? And make changes to processes, metrics, standards, definitions. Okay, you don't have to be, really, see, we'll be going through all these knowledge areas, so you'll understand when you go to them, okay. Then training needs, then implementing approved changes, okay, conducting procurements, managing communications, updating project documents. So these are all the things we'll be doing in a process, executing process group. Then what is monitoring and controlling? See, we'll go back to, okay, this one is monitoring and controlling, okay. Now, what is monitoring? Monitoring is keeping a tab on the project, getting results, okay, getting data relating to projects, how the project is actually performing. See, you have plan here, okay, you have plan. See, in controlling, what you do is you compare plan, compare plan with actuals. So when you do that, you know what is the degree of variance, the cost for variance. Then you decide what you have to do. So should you make changes to baselines? How should you do that? Okay. So you might, in monitoring, you might get data relating to these variances, and you may escalate issues to stakeholders. That is, you can create work performance reports, ask for more money, ask for more time, okay. Tell them how the project is performing in terms of earned value. So these are all the things we'll be performing in monitoring and controlling. Okay, we'll go to that slide. See, monitoring and controlling. This is what we do. So it monitors project performance against plans and baselines, raises concerns to stakeholders, reports on projects, and facilitates communications through work performance reports. So the main purpose of this process group is to get data, compare plan with actual, find the variances, ascertain the causes for the variances, the degree of the variances, and based on this variance come with some sort of an estimates. We had actually planned to spend $1 million. In 6 months, we have actually spent $1.2 million. So there is a negative variance of $0.2 million. So if this $0.2 million is the variance at this point of time, what would be the actual estimate when we complete the project? So we come with that type of work performance reports. Okay, you have a thing called earned value management. Okay, earned value management. We will be discussing this in depth in control costs. Okay, you can expect at least some 15 to 20 questions on earned value management. This is a very, very, very important topic. Okay, I'll make sure that all of you know this 100%. Absolutely not to worry. You have to be absolutely confident in this topic. Only then I would advise you even to take the exam. It's such a crucial topic. Okay, then once you come with earned value management reports, you control changes by recommending defect repair, corrective action, preventive action. We'll see what these are. Okay, slowly. Then
I have a question.
Yes. Tell me, Pradeep.
In the monitoring and controlling process, the only human resource knowledge area doesn't have any processes involved in that. Is there any specific reason why can't we control the human resource management?
Actually, what will happen is, I'll just come to that just a moment. See, let me, it looks a bit, let me just wipe out, I'll just come back to that. It looks very messy, no? Yeah, so your question is, in monitoring and controlling, we don't have anything being done in human resource knowledge area, isn't it? So actually what happens is, it might not be mentioned here as a separate process, but we will be visiting this human resource management plan throughout the project. We'll be replanning. For example, actually, see, first we'll assume that we need some 10 software engineers. Okay, so we know what the activities are. Then for this, we need to know that we have requirements some 10 software engineers. Then at this point of time, we need 10 software engineers. But going forth, 3 months from now, we may not need software engineers. We may just require testers because code would have been developed. So, so what happens is the requirements for human resources keeps changing over and over and over again throughout the project phase. Therefore, that process is done under planned human resource management itself. That is, you revisit the plan and you make changes to the plan. As you said, it might make sense to have some process here, okay, like control human resource management, but this process gets done in the planned human resource management itself.
Okay.
I have a separate slide. I'll show it you when I actually come to that. Okay, it is it is not here. I thought I could just give me a moment. See, look, this is the thing. See, this might be a bit confusing for you at this point of time, but see, this is something that I prepared for you. Okay, see, look at this. You have a thing called Plan Human Resource Management. Then you create a resource histogram that tells you what is the current requirement, okay, and how much do we actually have. So based on these two, you come with some acquired project team. Then what happens is you go and update the resource calendar. But this resource calendar keeps changing throughout the project, right? And the needs of the project also keeps changing. So what happens is this again, you use this to revisit the estimate activity resources. So control process is constantly occurring in human resource management. Okay, but it happens more in planned human resource management, planned human resource knowledge area. Okay, that's why it is not shown as a separate process. But we do have control process.
Okay.
Okay. When we actually come to this thing, you will understand it better. Okay. There are some areas, Pradeep, see, it might a bit, it might even confuse us. I'll just show you. See. So you have conduct procurements, isn't it? So we think that conduct procurement is actually buying. You know, procurement is actually to buy. So we think that in this process, conduct procurements will actually start buying. But the actual contract execution for procurements does not take place here. It takes place only here. So this happens in control procurements. So the actual process of execution at times takes place in control procurements. You have some subtle reasons for that. So when we go to the topic, I'll explain it to you. Okay. Likewise, human resource management control process also takes place within the plan, because you just keep revisiting the plan again and again and again. Okay. You'll understand when we actually go to that topic. So these are all the things you do in monitoring and controlling integrated change control. Okay, you have a separate topic for that. We'll go there. Process, then schedule, plan control, cost control, scope and quality control. So in all these processes, whenever we talk about control, we actually means comparing plan versus actual. Okay, so this is what we actually do. That is what is meant by control. You compare plan versus actual and then find the variance and also the cost for variance, the extent of variance, and how to adjust the baselines. Okay, what type of change request you have to generate, all that will have in control process. Then you also identify problems and implement solutions. So when there's a non-conformity, you try to identify why this non-conformity is there. Has it been going on for a fairly long time? So what potential problems you could have in the future? Okay, that type of thing you do, right? Then control stakeholder engagement. So again, the stakeholders' needs keeps changing. So you revisit the policy and manage changes to stakeholder management plan. Then control communications, performance reporting. So these are all the things we do in monitor and control. This is just an overview. When we actually go to the process, you will understand that better. Okay. We are discussing a process group. Okay. Yeah, there's a hand. I'll just connect with you. Yeah, Mabel, I'm unmuting you. Yeah, you can talk to me. Yeah, Mabel, go ahead. Yes, Mabel?
Okay. When
Yeah.
we say comparing plan,
Hmm.
versus actual,
Hmm.
what plan are we talking about? And what is actual? I'm sorry.
Hmm.
You have to
No
dumb
problem.
it down, please.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll tell you what it is, right? See, I'll explain the whole thing to you, not to worry. See, we discussed that we have planning processes, isn't it? See, here we come with scope management plan, right? The scope management plan tells us how to plan for the scope, then how to control scope, how to get scope accepted by the customer. So it gives us a plan for that, right? Then we come with a plan for the schedule. In schedule, we say what are the start and end dates, what are the intermediate milestones, what is the network diagram we are supposed to use, what is the model we are going to have, okay? All that we discuss here. So these are all plans. Then you come with a budget. So that is for the cost. Okay, then you come with quality management plan. Okay, then you have human resource management plan. Like this, you have plans for all the different areas for scope, time, cost, quality, and so on. Okay. Now, once you execute, what you do is you actually apply human resources, material resources, physical resources, everything. Okay. And you create deliverables, isn't it? In this process, you are actually executing, no? You are putting the plan into action. You are actually creating deliverables, isn't it? So, when you create deliverables, you have to, for instance, let's say the cost, we have a budget of $10,000. Okay, let's assume this is the amount of money we should have spent in the first 1 month. Now, when you actually execute at the end of 1 month, when you find, you try to understand how much you've actually spent, you might find that you have actually spent $15,000.
Got you. So
This is
basically,
actual, this is plan. So you compare plan with the actual. You
got
say there's a minus variance of $5,000. So what should I do with this? What is the reason? Why is there a variance? What should I do? So you generate concerns. So this concerns that you generate to the stakeholders, you do in monitor and control project work, right? So you here you create the deliverables. Then here you actually have a tab of the information, and you come with reports to the stakeholders and to the change control board. So that is what is meant by comparing plan with actual.
Got you. And so, if in the monitoring phase too, sometimes it could be that when you compare the plan that you had with actually what, you're producing, sometimes it could be that you're saving instead of spending more.
Yeah, anything is possible. Yeah, it could be, we could be over budget, we could be under budget. Okay,
Right.
we could be under budget, but we could be over schedule. That is also possible. So we might be performing well in terms of cost, but we might be performing very poorly in terms of schedule, right? So we might be performing good within cost and schedule, but in terms of scope, we may not be deliverable. We may not be creating all the work packages. So anything is possible, right?
Got you. I got it now. Perfect. Thank you.
Welcome. So this is what we do in monitor and control. Yeah, there's a hand here. Yeah. Yeah, Cecilia, I've unmuted you. Go ahead, Cecilia. Cecilia, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Usually in big organizations, especially if you belong to a program management office, when you say cost, they track resource costs, right? Most of the time, they're resource costs. Procurement is different. So what they do is they assign an analyst for certain hours, let's say 100, and then they assign developers, then they assign testers. There are resources that they are part of the build, they're part of the testing, they're part of the analysis, and then they're also part of the launch. So most organizations, in my organization specifically, they give us a list of hours for each resource. So they show us a whole big spreadsheet and tells us, oh, this person is assigned for development. This person is also assigned for testing and all that. So, but my question to you is, Vivek, is how, when you're given a budget and you have resources, how do you really put them together and you don't have information from the PMO, don't have anything except, okay, this is the money. Somebody from the organization usually assigns, right? For this is your budget. For testing, your budget is 1,000 hours, and then they put down resources. These are the people that will need to go in there. If you don't have that information, who would be that person who would give you that information?
Actually, it's a very interesting question you're asking, Cecilia. See, it is project manager's responsibility to get all this thing worked out. See, how we actually create a budget is, we would actually be discussing this in another slide, but since you asked me, I'll tell you this appropriate time. You should know. See, I'll just take you to the same slide, which I actually discuss in Plan Human Resource Management. Just a moment. Let me erase all this. See, I'll tell you very briefly what exactly we'll be doing. See, first, when you decompose the scope statement into work package, into a sort of a work breakdown structure, and you come to lowermost level, that is called a work package. Okay. Then in order to create this work package, you have to perform activities. Let's assume this is some sort of you say it is some sort of a development. Okay. So development is one work package, then testing is another work package, right? Then something else is another work package. You may have different work packages, right? So for each of these work packages, we need to perform activities. Okay. So first we identify what these activities are, right? Then we come with, once you know what the activities are, we can say, I need some 10 developers. I need some 5 testers. Okay. You may say, I need 10 developers and 5 testers. So first thing is you have to define the activities. What are the activities required to be performed? Then you will come with activity resource requirements. You see, activity resource requirements. Then this becomes an input for human resource management. This is where you have to start planning for the people you have to have. Then once you decide how many testers or how many developers you have, okay, then you must put it to estimate cost process. Then you will come with a cost estimate. Since cost estimates will impact resource selection, you will make sure you revisit the process again, because at the outset you might think that I require some 10 engineers from MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the best ones. So when you actually compare it with the budget, you might find that it's not possible to have all those people. So you might think of recruiting somebody locally and training them into world-class resource. So what you first understand what the activities are, then identify what the activity resource requirements for these activities, then you come with the plan, then you estimate cost for that, and you compare it with the budget, and then you finally have some sort of a baseline of the actual number of people you're going to have. Okay. Then with this, you go and acquire the project team. So this is how you must do. So first thing is you must understand what are all the work packages in your projects. Only then you can understand what type of people you require and at what point of time do you require. So that is why you go, once you have this cost estimates, you go and acquire people. And before that, you must create your own resource histogram. When you join a project, you must know how many people do I have, first week, second week, third week. Okay. So what is my requirement? This could be my requirement. Okay. This could be my requirement. This could be the actual availability. You may have some gaps and surpluses. So how do I fill up these gaps? So you need to come with some sort of a resource histogram. Then what does your plan actually want? Plan says I require 10 people. The existing resources are only 5. So for this difference of 5 people, you must be able to acquire. Once you acquire, you must go and update the resource calendar and create staff assignments. Then once you do this, you must also be able to understand what is the duration it is going to take. So you come with activity resource requirement, then you come with activity duration estimates, then you come with a network diagram, and with that you can create a schedule. So there are 3 things. No, number 1, it is number of people you require, then when do you require, okay, and at what point of time do you require, and what is the cost it's going to happen, and what is the duration it's going to take with the resources that you have. So these are all things that you must know as a project manager. So for that, you have to start off with a resource histogram that tells you how many people you already have and vis-a-vis how many people you require. Did they answer you, Cecilia?
Yes, it does, but it's kind of, it's um actually although in my years of project management, I have not done this particular
Yeah.
slide. And does everyone agree with me?
Yeah,
Have
nobody.
you
Actually, what
done
happens
this?
is, yeah. See, these are some good practices. Okay. Normally, what happens is we have to get ourselves involved with the PMO. Okay. So they are the best persons who can really involve us in this process. Without those, how can we actually do? But I know typically what happens is they just give us some 10 resources and they say, and this is the budget, and they have to deliver within 1 or 2 months.
Correct.
Yeah,
Usually.
that is, yeah. So PMI talks about best practices. Okay, so those are the best practices we are discussing here. But then we cannot avoid having these processes. Maybe the project manager does not do this in the projects that you handle, but there is somebody who does this. For example, you might have somebody like a project planner. Okay, you have very big projects where you have project planner. So project planner would be directly liaising with the project management office, and it would be indicating what are the resource requirements he might have. So he might get inputs from PMO or the client's organization. So part of it might be done by the project planner.
Or portfolio team. Portfolio
Yeah.
team does this.
Okay, you have a okay, your organization, yeah. Portfolio management, basically what they do is they just keep shuffling resources between projects, depending on the priorities of the projects in terms of yield, in terms of returns. Okay, so if a planner or somebody reports to portfolio office, that is fine, they would be doing it. But somebody does these processes. Maybe you may not be doing these processes, performing these processes as a project manager, but these are processes we cannot do without.
I'd
Okay.
like to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Does
So
everyone agree?
once we come to that knowledge area, we'll discuss. Okay, what are the best
Okay,
practices for
thank you.
human resources, right?
Appreciate it.
I do agree. You know, a lot of practices, a lot of things that we discuss here, we don't really do that in spirit. You know, I do
Real
understand
life,
it through. Yeah,
real work.
but
Thank
that
you.
would be very interesting. Yeah.
Thank
See,
you.
I worked in a very small project to begin with. I worked in a project that was just a moment. It's a robot application of Microsoft, so it just goes haywire once in a while. So I have to close it and open it. If I load more than 2 or 3 documents, you know, it becomes a problem actually. Yeah, we'll go back to where we left. Yeah, so these are the things we do in monitoring control, integrated change control, right? Uh, yeah, integrated change control, then uh, schedule, plan control, cost control, scope and quality control, identify problems and implement solutions. Okay. Then this is a very interesting slide. Okay. See, this tells you how information flows in a project. Okay. See, let me open this document again. Just give me a moment. You're able to see this? See, there are three ways in which information flows, right? That's what we're discussing here. See, we have work performance data, then you have work performance information, and work performance report. So let's see which are the three stages when we generate this type of information, right? See, when we actually start creating deliverables, okay, we have plan, then we have execution. When you compare both of these, which we do in this process, okay, you compare both of these, okay, you create what is called as work performance information. The raw data that you create when you actually deliver is called as work performance data. So in monitor and control, you compare plan versus actual. Okay, so the contextualized meaningful information is called as work performance information. For instance, if you have to spend $10,000 in 3 months, if you have actually spent $12,000, you have a negative variance of $2,000, isn't it? So this type of a process we do here in control process. So the information that we get here is called as work performance information. There is this meaningful contextualized data, but this one is just raw data. For example, it just gives you $10,000. It doesn't tell you how much you actually planned. It tells you 6 weeks. It doesn't actually tell you how much was actually planned. So we don't compare anything here. So that type of raw data that you create while executing is called work performance data. Then when you compare for each and every plan, that is for scope, schedule, cost, quality, okay, you create work performance data, work performance information, sorry. See, you have work performance information created in all these processes, okay. So in all these processes, the input is work performance data. You take in work performance data, then you compare this data with actually plan, and then you create work performance information. So for each and every control process, work performance data would be an input and work performance information would be an output. So this is called as, so these are the two types of information, okay. Now once this work performance information is known, you have a process here, no? You have this guy here, okay. This guy's job is to monitor and control, isn't it? So this guy takes in the work performance information at an overall project level. He combines all these work performance information from all the different knowledge areas, okay. Then he creates what is called as work performance report. So this work performance report, which is created in monitor and control project work, are nothing but concerns to stakeholders, changes to the plans, okay, concerns communicated to project teams, then concerns communicated to change control board, requesting for more funds or more time, or changes in the quality stipulations, if it's very expensive to meet the quality, or it could be changes to the contracts if it involves procurements. So it recommends a lot of changes and raises concerns to the stakeholders. So that type of information is called as work performance report. Are all of you clear about it? Any doubts? The three types of information. I've unmuted all of you. You can just tell me if you understand this. It's a very important information that keeps flowing throughout the projects. So these are the three types of data. Are all of you clear about it? Yeah, Cecilia, you have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ola says yes, understood. Yeah, Ola says understood. Cecilia, yeah, has a question. Yeah, I'll come to you, Cecilia.
I definitely
Yeah.
understand the work performance data and work performance information and work performance report, but
Hmm.
actually doing it, really doing it in a project, and you don't have a tracker, you don't
Hmm.
have a, you're not in the project server that pulls all this report for you, whether you're in the red, you're in for your hours and
Hmm.
stuff. If
Hmm.
you're in the red, you're over capacity or over 30%, which is, and the limit is about
Hmm.
10%, 10 plus and minus could be 15. My
Hmm.
question is, how do
Hmm.
you really put this in actuality? Getting the WPD, WPI, and the report. If you don't have those tools that
Hmm.
pull all the data, how do you
Hmm.
do it?
We need to have that. See, projects do have this, you know. See, for example, which is there any specific thing you're talking about? Any type of data, or you talk about actual schedule data versus what was actually planned data, or cost versus what is planned?
Everything, everything.
Everything. Yeah. See, um, this is a very important. Earned value management is the most important reporting system we have in projects. So, if we don't practice earned value management seriously in projects, we don't really know where we are actually going. We'll not have real peace of mind. We'll always have this noose hanging around our neck, you know. So we don't know how we won't have a peaceful sleep at all. So if we don't know how we are actually performing in terms of the cost, schedule, and scope, then what are we here for as project managers? So this is the basic information we are supposed to generate to the stakeholders. So how we actually do it? For example, if you're using Microsoft Project, you must be able to know what is the work that we have actually completed, the physical work complete. Okay, from you can also know what is the cost that you have actually incurred and what is the variance that you have actually incurred. So you can come with things like cost performance index, schedule performance index, you can come with cost variance, schedule variance, okay? Then you can come with estimates at completion. You can generate the concerns to stakeholders. You can tell them what exactly is going to take. So these are all, see, if we are adopting formal tools in projects, we must be able to generate this data. I was able to generate this data to a very limited extent, but not exactly the entire data which I could create earned value management. For example, I might not have some data relating to cost, or the cost data that is given to me might just reflect a billing rate and may not reflect the real rate. See, you might have some inconsistencies in data that you have to manage, but we cannot be without this reporting. This is the, see, there is one project manager I know of, okay. Most of the time he spends, whenever I ask him what is he doing, he says reporting, reporting, reporting. That's all, he just keeps generating reports. Then I asked him very simply, see, do you have cost performance index? Do you have schedule performance index? He says, what is that? I don't know. So pathetically, I mean, that's a pathetic state of affairs in a lot of projects because project managers really don't practice them. They have to put pressure on the management to provide the information and come with the reports. Otherwise, how are they going to be accountable to the top management? We always have that noose hanging around our neck. We don't know where we are going. So it is possible if we have tools and if a management has the commitment has to come from the top management. Or maybe this type of a reporting is being done behind the back of a project manager by the portfolio management department or program management department. So in which case the project managers are not actually doing the job. They're not allowed to do their job.
Correct, correct, correct. Most of the time, companies have their tools to pull all this
Hmm.
information, usually.
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately, you have a sort of the death blanket, you know, commercial confidentiality. So a lot of people don't really know what is happening, and they are given access to some limited uh, parts of the schedule or budget, you know. So project managers don't really know what's actually happening.
Hmm.
See, either they say that the project is too big, we can't practice it in a formal manner, Or they might say the project is too small, it's not necessary to have such sophisticated tools like earned value management. So, and in some cases, there are project managers who don't really take an interest in knowing about these, the questions that you are asking, not many project managers would really be asking. They would just be doing things the way their predecessors do, not really taking interest to know what's happening in the project. The keen questions that you're asking, that should come from every project manager. Only then we can really have this type of reporting. Cecilia, do you agree with me?
Yes, yes, yes. But when you mention CPI and SDI and all this stuff, probably project program managers would be aware of looking at all this information. And I know that as project manager, as long as you are within the scope, within the budget, and within the timeline, you're good.
Yeah. No, see, I was managing a project where I could have data relating to CPI, SPI, and because we were using tools. So we were using a tool called P3. Okay, so the entire cost schedule data used to get integrated. It used to create some sort. It was a sort of a automatically data would get transferred to that. So at any point of time, we can measure how our project is actually performing. It was possible. Maybe your project is too big, where it is not possible to do this seriously.
I actually have 13 projects.
Oh, that's
and 6 of them is just one application. It's application development. 6 of them is application development. Maybe 2 are infrastructure. So it's manageable because of the reason the company has all the tools I need to pull reports, and they tell me, hey, you're red on this, you're red in this, you are spending 25%, 27% over the budget, and stuff like that. So I appreciate that. But what if I don't have those? I would have pulled my hair and I would have just cried.
We'll never have peace of mind, no? We'll never have, the tie would become our noose, We have to hang ourselves by the tie. So we can't really have, peace of mind. Okay. So whenever somebody wishes us, we say, hi, good morning. You say, hi, good morning. I am a project manager, and we'll have that. Uncertainty, fears of uncertainty. We don't know where we are going. We'll go this way, that way. Okay.
So if you're a contractor, you walk into an organization. Okay, so what tools do you have? What do I have to watch for? So you're in that situation where, so what tools can I use?
Exactly. That's an enterprise. That's an enterprise environmental factor. We have to adapt to whatever tools we have. If nothing is there, we have to at least maintain some sort of a spreadsheet. Somehow create some reports. Let them dispute. This is not the report. You come with some sort of a CPI. Say my CPI is actually 1.5. I'm doing well. Let them dispute it. Let them. You force them to say what the fact is. Then, okay.
Wow, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
So this is the 3 types of data we used to have. You have when you actually execute, you have data. Then when we control at each knowledge area level, when we have a control process, we have work performance information. Then at the overall project level, we saw there is monitor and control. The guy who was there on top, this guy. So this guy, okay. This guy does it for all the process areas, okay, all the knowledge areas. So that type of information is called overall project control. So here, when you do overall project control, you come with reports, okay. So these reports tell you how we are performing in terms of cost, schedule, okay. Then which are the areas we are finding in problematic in terms of quality, okay. Procurements, where are the change requests required, right? How is each vendor performing? So that type of information you create project work performance report. Now, this work performance report becomes an input for change control board. Okay, you have a process called project change control. So whenever you go to a change control board, for instance, you go and ask for extra money. You say, I need another $20,000 for the next 2 months, otherwise I can't run the project. So you must say what the cost variance is or what the schedule variance is. So how would you say that? You would state that only through work performance reports. So this work performance report becomes an input for project change control. Then once they approve the changes, this change request get approved and it makes update to project management plan. Okay, now instead of $1 million, your project management, your budget actually becomes $1.2 million when you make changes. Then this becomes an input for project communications. So this has to be communicated to all the stakeholders. We have to state that we had asked for $20,000 more. We were given $20,000 or $15,000. Therefore, the new budget would be this much. So this has to be communicated to the project stakeholders and as well as the project team members. So this is one way. Okay, this is one way. Then another way is you can straight away go and update the project management plan. So let's assume we should have spent 6 weeks, okay, for creating a number of deliverables. Okay, for let's assume we should have completed the UAT in 6 weeks. So we have actually taken 8 weeks. So is there anything we can do about changing these timelines? No. We can only change our plans, isn't it? So we can only update our baselines. We can go and update our schedule baseline. So that type of report becomes useful to straightway update your plan without going through change control board. You would of course be informing the change control board through your reports that this change has already taken place, but simultaneously you will also be updating the plans and the baselines. So once you update the plans, once again it creates communications. Or number 3, this work performance report can straight away become an input for project communications. Let's say we have to talk to stakeholders about how a particular procurement is happening. Okay, so you have performance reporting, that's one of the tools you'll have in managing communications. So in performance reporting, you take the work reports and discuss with the stakeholders how a particular vendor is performing or how a particular team is performing. Once again, it creates communications. Okay, so this is discussed with the stakeholders, other stakeholders, and the project team. Then once you update a project management plan, this again gets executed. Let's assume we asked for 6 extra weeks. Okay, so change control board was pleased to accord that change and stakeholders have also agreed for that, right? So you are getting 6 extra weeks, isn't it? So you updated the project management plan with 6 weeks, then this is what has to be implemented. So this cycle goes on and on and on. So this is how information travels in a project. When you actually create deliverables, you also create data relating to deliverables. That is work performance data. Then once you put it through a control process, then you have work performance information. Then you consolidate all the work performance information at the overall project level in monitor and control process, and you create work performance report. Now there are 3 ways this work performance report travels. Number 1, it updates the change control board of the changes and asks for changes in the plan. So once the changes are recorded, you go and update the project management plan, and this gets implemented again. Okay, this gets executed. Or you straight away, if the change has already taken place, where you have to just maintain the integrity of the baseline by making changes to the baseline, because you cannot change the actuals, you go straight away update the project management plan. Or you may just want to generate concerns to the stakeholders, say what the current state of affairs is in the project. Okay, it may not involve any change control at all. You just have to inform the stakeholders. So that becomes number 3 way where you can go and generate project communications. And this generates reports, and you have reports going to team members and stakeholders. Okay, so this is how information travels in a project. Any questions here? Yeah, this is an important thing. We should understand what type of information we have and how the information is handled in different levels in a project. Okay. Any questions? Yeah, I'll go back to the slides. So finally, you come to closing process group. So in closing process group, what happens is all the products get accepted. There is another, there's a question here, and Ola, tell me. I've unmuted you, Ola. Please tell me, what is the question?
So you can just go back to slide 56.
Pardon, Ola?
Can you please go back to slide 56?
Earlier slide?
Yeah, the previous one.
Yeah, I'll do that, yes. Yeah, this one? Yeah, tell me.
I can't. Okay, yes, great. Just want to recap my understanding of what you said so far. So, some of the execution or some of the products of this work performance data, say for instance, the very first column would include like the project charter, and if you had plans, right? And if you were to move into the controlling process, the output from these products performance information would include the actual plan, the duration, and not the actuals, but the planned activities, right? So like the project plan itself, estimated costs. Is that what you're talking about in terms of products for these types of data then?
Ola, there is a bit of background noise in your place. Can you just I'm not able to hear you completely. There's some background noise in your place, Ola.
Is it any better now?
Yeah. Essentially, what you're trying to ask me is, see, does it mean comparing the actual schedule with, the planned schedule with the actual time taken? Is it something like that?
No, I'm trying to understand what the actual products of these different types of data are. So for what performance data, what would an example of the information
you want
be?
examples, is it? Okay, I'll give you examples. Okay, see, let's assume, we'll come back to something that we are very familiar with, right? See, let's assume we are an IT department, okay? Let's assume we are developers and we have done some sort of testing, right? So when we actually did the unit testing, we came across some sort of 10 bugs. Okay, so this type of data is work performance data. It does not tell you why you have these bugs, what type of bugs these are. Okay, then let's assume we have some, we should have taken, say, $10,000, okay, to create some work package. We have actually spent $12,000. So this data comes from plan. This comes from actual performance. We should have spent only $10,000 in 1 week time or 2 weeks time. We have actually spent $12,000. So this is work performance data. And when you compare this work performance data with what was actually planned, what is a budget? No, it's something like, I'll explain it once again. See, budget, okay? Budget for 3 months, okay, is, let's say it's $1 million. Now we have into 3 months of the project, and at the end of 3 months, you want to know how much have you actually spent. You find that you have actually spent $1.5 million. So this budget is planned, this 1.5 is actual. Do you understand these two things, Ola?
I understand that. Say for instance, in 22 now, this actuals and plan would come as a result of you producing an highlight report. So under what sort of reports would this come out from? Because you can't, I know you're writing it somewhere, you're creating a kind of report, but at what point or what would that report be called? I understand that it includes plan and actuals, but what do you call it?
So this type of report is called as earned value reports.
Thank you. Yes,
you call them earned value reports, but this earned value reports relates to cost and schedule. Okay, but if you have other aspects like quality, then procurements, then communications, these things do not come in earned value management reports. They come in work performance reports. So work performance report is something very broad. Okay, it is one common description you have for all types of reports. So within work performance reports, you might have earned value reports. Okay, or you might have some quality reports, or you can have some sort of a scheduled milestone report, bar chart, Gantt chart. Okay, so work performance report is one common terminology that PMBOK uses to describe all types of reports. Within knowledge areas, you might have different reports named differently, like earned value reports for cost, schedule, and scope. Did I answer you, Ola? Yeah, thanks. Ola has confirmed. Thanks. Thank you. So these are the three types of information that we have, right? So in closing, what happens is, this is a very formal process. Let me just explain this through this slide. Okay. See, what happens is, when we create deliverables, okay, you put them through control quality. Every deliverable has to go through control quality. So you might find some non-conformance here when you execute. So you can make changes there, or you might put that through control quality process, okay, where you see internally you inspect, okay, you inspect whether the goods are, I mean, whether deliverables that we create is according to what was actually planned, okay. So when it is actually planned, when the results conform to what we actually planned, you create what is called as verified deliverables. Okay, so when you perform this process called control quality, that is, you inspect all the deliverables that we have created. Then you create the output called verified deliverables. So verified deliverables signifies that it conforms to our quality standards, the quality standards that have been given by the customer. Okay, now once you perform your internal control quality process, these verified deliverables are created, and these become an input for the process called validate scope. So validate scope is a process where the customer examines the deliverables and accepts it. Okay, so here you create accepted deliverables. Okay, which means the customer is quite happy about the deliverables and he has accepted it. So once he accepts the deliverables, that becomes an input for the process called close project. In close project, what happens is we transition the project results to operations. This is what happens. So once you deliver, you inspect. Once you inspect, you give to the customer accepts, then that becomes an input to the process called close project, and the output of this process is transition the results to operations. The project results goes to operations. So that is what happens here. See, the closing process group formalizes acceptance of the product, services, or results and brings the project or project phase to an orderly end. Okay, this is a question. Yeah, Cecilia, go ahead.
Yes, so in application development, would you call this in the testing phase where you create test plans, post-validation? Is that what you call post-validation?
Yes, see,
okay.
You have closing process, not for the entire project. You may also have for phases in the project. For example, once you come with requirement documentation, once you complete requirement documentation, when you have a formal validation with a stakeholders and they give the sign off, then that becomes a closing process for that stage. Then once you do the coding, okay, once you do the coding and the test results conform to results that were anticipated, then you have a closing process there also. So it is not only for the entire project, but also for individual processes within a project. So it also means accepting test results. Once you develop a code, then you put it to unit test and you put it to system integration testing and you perform the unit user acceptance testing. Yeah, and the customer accepts user acceptance testing, so that you create a deliverable at that stage also.
Okay.
And
Is
that
this
gets
before you do the warranty, the 2-week warranty?
Yeah, I mean warranty after the product is launched into the server or it is given to the physically to some buyer. Is that what you mean? Warranty?
Yes. Warranty.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, see, yeah, actually what happens is even after the results are transitioned to operations, we still have a necessity there, isn't it? You might have some issues which have not been fully solved. Okay, so you might have what is called as post verification run. You might be having that in your projects, no? Post verification run this, So for some time after you roll off the results to operations, say for 6 months, okay, you are still responsible as a project manager. Still you have to do all this. So until then you cannot formally close a project. Then assuming that you have actually sold this product, let's assume you were saying about application, isn't it? Let's assume you are a vendor. You have created an application for somebody else. Okay, a requesting organization has asked for an application and you have rolled over the application to its server, right? Now the company has started using it. So if you have anything, if your SLAs say that you have to provide some sort of a warranty, maybe you cannot close it until then. But that might be not part of the project activity. It might be part of the post verification run.
Okay, thank you.
Before you get into this warranty period, okay, you must get paid for the project. Warranty covers only the life cycle cost after the actual delivery takes place. But before this warranty period starts, you have to close the project. Okay, you have to cancel all the contracts. You must be able to tell them that there is nothing that we owe you. We have paid you everything. Or if you happen to the vendor, he would be asking you to confirm that you have delivered, you have completed all your deliverables. There is nothing more pending from your end, and we have paid everything for that. So this warranty cost is something that happens after you roll out the life cycle cost. So it all depends what type of costing you have. So if you have a warranty cost, all that could be covered after the project. You normally have this post verification run. Okay, we have some temporary period of 3 months or 6 months when we look out for any issues. So if you have SLAs, it is fine. But normally, once you deliver it to their production server, our responsibility ends. After that, only warranty costs.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and even during this phase, during post verification run, they might require some new features. Okay, so we may have to ask them to generate some change requests. Okay, they would be again costed. They'd be taken as a sub project. Okay, projects really don't get retired from servers once you create them. It's always there. Rich source of income for IT companies. Okay. So this is closing process group. So what we do here is you obtain acceptance by the customer, then you measure customer satisfaction. Is this very important? How many of us do this in projects? Measuring customer satisfaction. Just a while ago, just a few days ago, I met a project manager. Okay, he was feeling very rueful. No, he was saying, "See, Ramesh, I've saved so many millions of dollars for my company, but the company is not really appreciative of that." Okay, so I mean, then we had a discussion what went wrong. Then during the discussion, what transpired was he had not put up a system where you could measure the benefits out of this and propagate the project benefits to the operations. So the most important thing that we have to, as project managers, have to do is you have to come with some sort of a benefits measurement method. Otherwise, we cannot propagate the benefits of our project. We will not even be confirming to the business that we have met the satisfaction criteria, acceptance criteria. Okay. So when we created a business case, or when we came with a project charter, or when we came with requirements, okay, we would have come with a list of criteria, which tells us whether it is a business success or not. See, there are two things. So you have project success, then you have business success. Okay. Very often we find that we deliver whatever we are required to. Okay. So it's been rolled out to production, right? Operations have started using it. Then we just go and ask them, operations, how is it going? They say, yeah, it's there, but it's not doing what we actually expected. So it is not a business success. It might be a project success. Somewhere something went wrong. We have not completely captured what the business wanted. So we need to have a method to measure that projects have actually met with the criteria that business wanted. And this has to be propagated to stakeholders, higher level stakeholders. Until then, it's a waste, whatever you're doing in the projects. Okay, so we have to measure customer satisfaction, conduct end review, right? A review is very, very important. Study impacts of tailoring to any process. We might not have adopted all the PMP processes. We might have made some changes to these processes. So how effective these changes were they required in the first place? Okay, so that type of an analysis. Then finalize and implement lessons learned. So for each and every stage, you must have lessons learned. It's absolutely important. Otherwise, we can never learn from our mistakes. Okay, and we cannot really identify what are the good practices we actually ended up following, right? Which you could carry on for the next project. So we have to, when closing the project, we have to document the lessons learned. And in procurements, you have to close out. This is very, very important. We have to take back the contracts, cancel the contracts, and give it back to the vendors. Okay, so let's assume 6 months after the procurements are over, the guy comes and makes a claim. See, this is something that has not been settled, so please pay me $10,000. So we should never end up in that position. So we have to close out procurements formally, and then hand over the project deliverables to the operations team. So these are the things we perform in closing process group. Okay, any questions here? You can ask. Anyone?
Ramesh, what do you mean by close out procurements?
Okay, see, have you, Jayanti, I just want to ask one thing. See, have you been ever involved in coming up with a statement of work for any of your project work packages, or has somebody reported to you who is involved in creating work packages or statement of work? See, what actually happens is, see, there are certain things which we can do internally. There are certain things we cannot do. Either we may not have the core competence, or we might have exceeded our capacity. We cannot do that internally, or we may have to outsource it to somebody. So that type of a thing is called procurement. Okay, that I think you must be knowing. Now, we have to come with a statement of work. You have to state very clearly what the vendor has to do in procurements. It has to be very, very explicit. Nothing should be left out. If you leave out, the guy won't perform. So we'll be incurring extra charges for the company, for this project. So we have to state very clearly in a statement of work what are the things to be done. Then the legal department would tag the contract to this, and they would create what is called as RFP documents. Then this RFP documents would be sent to the vendor. Vendor would have an opportunity to go through the statement of work. Then he'll participate in the bid. Then we'll negotiate. Then we award contracts. Once contracts are awarded, they will start performing their contracts. Then we have to take delivery of whatever they perform, inspect. Okay. So this type of a thing is called closing out procurement. So finally, when they've concluded their procurements, we must tell them, yeah, you have completed your procurements. So you have given us all deliverables. Or if we are the performing organization, or if you're, let's assume you are creating an application for a federal government. Okay. So now this federal government you have to get a confirmation from the federal government that all my contract requirements have been met. There is nothing more that I have to do. Okay, so this type of positive confirmation from vendor or requesting organization that there are no more contractual stipulations to be fulfilled, you have a closed procurement. So unless that administrative closure takes place, you will not have financial payout. Okay, did I answer your point,
Yeah.
Jayanti?
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome.
I have another question on this closing one. So there is one point where like perform team members assessment and release the project resource. So till now, like since couple of years, I'm doing a lot of projects. Nowhere I got any release from the project manager. Just simply like
Yeah, you're right.
don't like sometimes maybe a kind of appreciation emails like thank you for all your hard work and all those things. But really, we did not get any kind of maybe we are working right like a balanced metric where the functional manager is the more who takes, but we did not get any this release notes from
Yeah,
the
it's a
project
very nice
manager.
point. Yes, yeah, it's a very nice point you're saying, Pradeep. See, one of the best practices that PMI recommends is you must have a staff release plan. You must be able to talk to the customer, okay, if you have sent your team to the customer site. So the portfolio manager or program manager, whoever is, or the project manager, we have to talk to the customer and tell them how long do we require the resource. We should not suddenly just be informed by the customer that we don't require this resource from next week, and we should not be sending a mail to the customer saying that you have been rolled off to the bench, go fend for yourself, go find some project. Okay, so that is not a that is something that PMI frowns upon. One good practice is to anticipate well in advance when this particular team member would be relieved from the project, and it is a project manager's responsibility to find a placement for him after the project is over. So that is a best practice that PMI recommends. I know clients do not always cooperate. Clients do not tell until the last moment how long you require this resource. Okay, suddenly they say that we don't require this team from next week. So that's how we end up terminating the services of people from our projects and rolling them off to the bench. That's a very, very sad state of affairs. Okay, that should not happen. You cannot have a morale of the team high. Okay, let's assume if you've sent, especially if you have sent a team member to an overseas destination. Okay, so if he cannot, we don't tell him how long he is required. Okay. So he cannot plan his visa, he cannot plan his family, he cannot plan for his home. So he's just living by the day or living by the week. So a good practice that PMI practices, you must have a staffing management plan. One of the aspects of staffing management plan is to manage the release of the team member. We have to find a replacement for him.
Maybe the PMI has to monitor all these things, otherwise it's not going to happen. Since last 4 years, literally I am saying every month end is my project end. So it can extend, it cannot extend. So I'm like fed up with all these things. So that's why I'm deviating my track to program manager where I can tell the people that, see, this is your project end, so you're no longer needed like that.
Hey, way to go.
Yeah, that's really,
instead of somebody telling me to go, I want to be in a position to tell somebody that you have to go like that.
Oh, it's a very
this is like maybe they take it as a light or something, but it gives me a lot of, like you said, like lot of planning problem. Now I need to really lease my apartment in May, and my project is going to end in April end. Now I don't have any plan. Do I need to renew, or do I need to don't need to renew? My project will extend, or another project I'll get here. It's a completely uncertain for me now.
Exactly. Yeah. See, well, these are really very bad. See, I remember in one project, where I was working for some 9 months. So entire team of 10 people okay, the entire batch, they said, we are postponing your, we have some sort of a budget cut, so we are postponing your thing. We will not be having work for the next 6 months. So we were asked to come back to India. So we were just about to, we had settled the rental. Then where there was some extra furniture, the house owner didn't want it, so we had to go and dump it in some yard. We were doing all that. Just then we got a mail saying that we were retained for another 3 months. Then without our knowledge, our tickets were cancelled. Okay, without our knowledge, the tickets were cancelled. So we didn't have a place to stay. Then we didn't have a ticket to leave the country. Okay, then it happened to be a Friday. Nobody would be, we could not access anybody on Saturday and Sunday. So we went and stayed in some sort of a restaurant for 2 days. And Monday morning, we waged a war against the project management office. And we, and that is one thing we would have really repented. Okay, the whole 10 of us, the whole 10 of us literally raided the PMO, and we told them what they did was wrong. They were, so these things really do happen. See, some more very pathetic cases I've seen. See, there was a very senior guy from Citibank. Okay, he was brought to one of their clients' place. He was called a strategic manager. So he was a very senior guy. He left his job and came here, and they didn't find a placement for him. So then he had to fend for himself, and he again left the company. So all these things happen. Companies don't really care for. That's why PMIs, as you said, PMI has to take interest, but I don't think it'll ever take an interest in all these things. It just comes with recommendations, and who cares? People may implement, people may not implement. Okay. Anyway, we'll go back to the discussion. So then we have stakeholders. Who are stakeholders? Yeah, there's a question. Yes. Yeah, Pradeep. Yeah. Go ahead, Pradeep.
No, I don't have anything. Sorry.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So we have stakeholders. Project stakeholders are individuals or organizations whose interests are affected positively or negatively. And different stakeholders can have different and conflicting expectations, which need to be analyzed and managed. See, actually, we'll be discussing this in stakeholder management area. Okay, we just ignore this. It just wants to say that we have a set of people called stakeholders. We are there to meet their expectations. Okay, you can have different types of stakeholders within the project, outside the project. Okay, outside the project, within the organization, lots of them, right? We'll be discussing about this in stakeholder management area. Okay, these are some of the key stakeholders. Okay, project team members, of course, right? Project team members. Then project management team, the senior management, project managers, portfolio manager, okay, responsible for decreasing or increasing the priority of the project and involved in selection of project, example by looking at ROI. Then performing organization. What are these? We have two organizations. One is called requesting organization. The other one is performing organization. So let's assume we have awarded a contract to somebody else. Then we are the requesting organization, and the organization that is actually executing is the performing organization. Or we could ourselves be performing organization if we are actually responding to an RFP and taking contract. Okay, but entire discussion is from a requesting organization's perspective. Okay, so portfolio manager, then performing organization, then PMO, sponsor, okay, and customer. Oh, it's some sort of a. So these are the organizational influences. We saw that earlier. Okay, process orientation, governance, training, roles, responsibilities. We'll see all this when we go to these knowledge areas. Okay, so yeah, is this where we left, or just a moment? Yeah, that's where we left. So you have some simple questions. Which process group tracks the progress and performance of the project? Yeah. Yeah, Cecilia says it is C. Perfect, right? Then Pradeep, yeah, Pradeep says it is C. Perfect. So this is the process where we track the progress. Then stakeholder management is one of the most important works performed by a project manager. For identification of stakeholders, which of the following process groups and knowledge areas does identify stakeholders belong? So we haven't actually come to that process. I'll just so we cover this in identify stakeholders and procurement management. See, this is the place. See, when we perform this process, we come with stakeholders. But when we perform this process during initiating phase, the stakeholders we come up with is very high level people, regulators, then funders, then heads of departments, treasury managers, okay, sponsors. So that type of high level people are called. These stakeholders are identified when you create this initiating process. But actually when we start planning and we start executing, we have different types of people. Even the people who open the door when we walk into a restaurant, okay, even those are all stakeholders, okay. So the topmost level to the lowliest level, we meet all the stakeholders, okay. But at this process during initiating, we only identify the very high level stakeholders who get mentioned in project charter, okay. So stakeholder management is one of the most important works performed by a project manager. For identification of stakeholders, which of the following process groups and knowledge areas does identify stakeholders belong? Yeah. So this is, the first one is group, the other one is knowledge area. This is a combination you can expect, yeah. So what's the question, answer? Anyone? Cecilia, the C is for question 1 or question 2 or for both? Ola. Yeah, yeah, see, fine. Yeah, that's right. So we do this in initiating process group, and the knowledge area is stakeholder knowledge area. Okay. Yeah. So Ola says, what is it? C2. Fine. Thank you.
Yeah, the key is in it, the initiating process group has to be there, and the stakeholder should be there because it's identify
exactly.
stakeholders, right?
Perfect.
So,
perfect. Yeah. Perfect. You're right. And question 3. Which knowledge area has a process area defined in all the process groups? Yeah. Question A. Perfect. Yeah. So it is integration management. I'll just take you to the chart again. You'll know that. See, it's an integration knowledge area that you have processes defined in all the process groups. Okay. I mean, see, it doesn't mean we are not executing in other areas. If we execute scope, we execute time. When we utilize time, it is executing time, isn't it? Then we execute cost. When we spend money, we are executing cost. So they are not mentioned here as some sort of a specific process. Okay, but what the question says is in PMBOK, okay, when it explains. So how is it explained? Okay, that's what it is. Yeah, this is a question. Yes, Pradeep. Yeah, says it's question 3A. Fine, perfect. Now, question 4. Which one of the following is not a valid process area defined in PMBOK Guide 5th edition? Do you have monitor? Yeah, okay. Pradeep says it is question 4, answer A, answer is A, okay? Well, yeah, this answer is right, but let's see if there's any other option also. Then you have, yeah, let's see if you have any other options. What about, do you have monitor and control quality? No, we don't have. Okay, therefore Pradeep is right. What about this monitor and control procurements? Do you have that? Yeah. Just have a look at this. Do you have monitor and control procurements? You only have control procurements. Okay, but this comes under monitor also, right? Then what is the third one? Monitor and control project work. Do you have this? We have. Okay. So what we don't have is we don't have monitor and control quality, and we do not have monitor and control procurements. See, we will not, let me tell you, this is not a strictly situational question. You will not get such questions. You perform this control procurement process, so there also have monitoring functioning taking place. So you just ignore this question. Okay. So technically speaking, these two words may not be there in PMBOK, but we do have these processes. Okay. Yeah, there's a question. Is it possible to increase the font size of the table? Yeah, that's a question. See, actually, what happens, you see, it was actually I really struggled to put this on a thing, so many processes. So what we can actually do is, when I discuss a particular thing, I will enhance that size. Okay, so that will be better. Yeah, thanks for this idea. I'll do that. Right. Yeah, Mabel says it's much better. Fine. You have to strain your eyes for that. Okay? Yeah. So question 5. The risk register will be the output of which process area as defined in PMBOK Guide 5th edition. See, my suggestion is we haven't even come to the risk management knowledge area. Okay, so please don't answer this. Okay, when we go to risk, we'll cover that thoroughly, right? So, yeah. Okay. This is risk register is a process, output of this process, identify risk is risk register. Okay, it is too premature for us to answer. Okay, so when we go to risk management, we'll discuss that. So we are going to integration management. Shall we have a brief 10-minute break? Is it okay? So, or 15 minutes, will that do? Yeah, sure. Pradeep says 10 minutes. Yeah, 10, 15 minutes we can take. Some people may take. So I just write my time here. You can just adjust it. My time is 21:18. So I'll come back 15 minutes after this. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay, break kami. So if you have time to talk, 15 minutes lang. That was 2 minutes ago. So if not, we'll just talk later. Hello? Well, as usual, bumabalik na naman siya dun sa ano, always, no? Yung pedestal niya and everything na hindi ko naiintindihan 90% of the time, things like that. You know what? I don't get this, ikukwento pa yung mother niya, ganyan, ganyan, ganyan. Sabi ko, whatever it is that you and your mother had to do, I have nothing to do. I just do what I want to do and what I need to do. That's all. Nag-pedestal. He's putting himself on top. Sabi ko, you are not God. You claim
Can you go on mute?
himself on a
It's being recorded.
pedestal.
Hello?
Nilalagay niya ang sarili niya sa taas. He is knowledgeable
Hola?
in everything.
Ola?
So,
Can you go on mute?
So, hold 1 second.
All of you back? Just ping me in case you've come back.
I'm back.
Oh, thanks, Cecilia. Pradeep, you're back? Fine. Thanks, Ola. Thanks, Mabel. Jayanti, have you come back? Natasha, have you come back? Thanks, Charles, for confirming you're back. Jayanti? Natasha?
Yeah, sorry, I'm back.
Oh, thank you. Is it Natasha? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jayanti, are you back? Yeah, we'll go ahead, right? So we are coming to project integration management. Okay, so we'll go to the template and see what are the processes we have. So this is what we have in project integration management. That is, first develop project charter, then develop project management plan, direct and manage project work. Yeah, thanks, Mobile. Yeah. Direct and manage project work, and monitor and control project work, and perform integrated change control. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 important processes. So for all these processes, we'll be discussing the tools and techniques. From here onwards, we'll be adopting this inputs, tools, techniques, and output template. Okay. Because we have started discussing the actual project processes here. So this is in project integration management. So we'll be discussing what is project integration management, role of project team, role of project sponsor, project selection methods. Okay, so these are the core processes. So the first process is develop project charter. Okay, so project charter is a process which brings a project into existence. Now let's first see what you have in a project charter. Okay, this is the output. Let's see what we have in a project charter. Let's see the contents of a project charter. Okay, and then we'll understand the meaning for this processes. Yeah. So we just saw a while ago that we come with a business case, isn't it? Business case is some sort of a decision support tool where operation comes with a need for a project. We saw we could have project for a variety of reasons. It could be marketing necessity or organizational processes changes, okay, or it could be some technological need, or it could be some social need, it could be an ecological need, it could be environmental need, it could be regulatory need. So you have any number of reasons why you have a project. For that, you have a formal process called business case. Okay, so once a business case is approved, a project is born. So from that point onwards, it stops being something that is run by operations. A formal project is born, and the project manager and his team start running the project, and they do that in accordance with what is created in the business case. Okay, so you have this continuity between operations and projects. Okay, so the project charter contains project purpose or justification. It tells us why a project is required. Okay, what was the high level necessity for a project? Okay, why was it required? Then it gives you the tangible project objectives and relative success criteria. Okay, what are the objectives and what are the success criteria? I'll give you an example, then you will understand. Okay, but just understand what it is at this point of time. So it gives you what are the high level objectives and what are the success criteria. When do you consider a project to be success? Then what are the high level requirements? Because everything in a project charter is high level. It is like a Constitution of America or Constitution of India. See, you can have hundreds and thousands of laws, okay, formulated all over America or India, okay, but they should all conform to the Constitution, isn't it? You cannot have anything which is not there in the Constitution. All of us were seeing from here the difficulty that Obama had, you know, I'm sorry, not Obama, the current president, you know, Trump, he had difficulty in pushing through some laws recently, isn't it? Some of the codes struck down because they are not according to the Constitution. So as project managers, for us, the Constitution is a project charter. It's some sort of a beacon light. Whenever we have a doubt, we must know whether it comes within the beacon light or not. If it is there, you can accept it. If it is not there, you have to say no. Okay, so it gives you high-level project requirements, then it gives you high-level project description. It tells you what the project is, what is the process you're going to adopt, and how you are going to create deliverables, and what are the high-level risks. Okay, what are the things that could derail the very project into coming into existence, let alone plan. Okay, we may not, situation may arise when you can't have the project at all. So what type of risk? Very high-level risk. So summary milestone schedules. See, we haven't started planning yet. We don't know, we haven't collected requirements. We don't know what the work packages are. So how can you have a detailed plan? So we may just have some sort of a summary milestone schedule, isn't it? See, that's what normally happens, you know, when we start off as a project manager, we write to the PMO. We ask them to provide us access to the scheduling software. So what they do, they just based on the project charter, they establish some milestones and give it to us. And later on, we can change it. Okay, but the end dates and start dates are fixed. Any changes to end date has to be done only with the consent of PMO. That's what happens, isn't it? So we have some sort of a summary milestone schedule. For example, you can say 3 months for requirements, 3 months for development, 3 months for testing. Okay, something very broad. Then a budget. Budget is also high level. So when you actually come with a budget, it may be based on some historical judgment, you know. You might have the benefit of an earlier project. So you might try to come with some sort of a budget. Actually, when actually we translate this budget into some sort of a real plan, it could be minus 25 plus 75. Anything is possible. Okay. So we have a high level budget. Then project acceptance criteria or approval requirements. What would be deemed as having met the acceptance criteria? What are the conditions you have to meet? Okay, these are very high level. Who constitutes a project success? Who signs off the project? Who would decide whether a project is success or not? Operations, isn't it? So who will sign off the project? Then who assigns a project manager? it will be the sponsor. Okay, the most important purpose of a project charter as far as a project manager is concerned is he derives authority only from a project charter. If you do not have a project charter, we do not have authority to apply organizational resources to projects. So this gives us the authority, okay, and it also specifies what is our delegated powers, to what amount of money we can spend, beyond what amount of cutoff point we have to go to higher level people to get an approval. Okay, so it assigns project manager, it stipulates his authority and his responsibilities. Okay, and name an authority of the sponsor or other persons authorizing the project charter. So these are some of the things you have in a project charter. Now the question is, should we have a project manager at the time of developing a project charter? Can anyone take a thing on this? Should we have a project manager when we actually develop a project charter?
As per PMBOK, it says it's not mandatory, but having a project manager assigned during the project charter is a good idea.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, that's right. So it may not always be possible. Okay, so in fact, it's ideal even to have people at the time of creating a business case. Project manager should be involved in creating a business case itself. That is some sort of a pre-project phase. Okay, so ideally we should have that, but it's not always possible. But in any case, when the charter is signed by the sponsor, you should have the name of the project manager mentioned in the charter. In no case can we have a charter without a project manager named in it, because from that point onwards, it is the project manager who is to carry forward the entire work. Okay, operations will just, I mean, they'll wash their hands off. They'll say, I will give you requirements. We have given you the acceptance criteria and what the high-level requirements are. Come up with plan, come up with scope. We'll give you all cooperation, but essentially it has to be done by you. Okay, so from that point onwards, it is a project manager who has to carry the project with them. Okay. So I'll give you a small example. We'll also look into what are the inputs, outputs. Okay. You have a project statement of work. What does a statement of work cover? It tells you it's just a narrative description of all the things that are required to be done in a project. So let's assume let's assume you've got a contract, okay, from a company, right? So when you see this project statement of work, that's when you get this RFP documents from the company. You're assuming you are bidding for a contract, and you have to go through the statement of work and decide whether you can perform this contract. So the intended audience of a statement of work is the performing organization. Or if it's your own internal project where you don't involve a third party, okay, it could be your own internal project. You might own an application, so you might come up with changes to the application within your organization. Okay, so even then you need to have a statement of work. But the difference between having an external vendor and doing it internally is this agreements. If we have a vendor, you need to have agreements. If not, project statement of work would itself become some sort of an agreement between the sponsor and the internal team. Okay, then so then you have business case. What's a business case? See, business case either solves a problem or seizes an opportunity. See, organization might have some problem for which it's trying to find a solution, or based on its strategic analysis, it might think like, let us have some new product line. or any changes in response to external environment. Okay, so you might be seizing an opportunity. In either case, you have to come with a business case. What's a business case? See, the question is business case within projects or outside projects? Actually, it is outside projects. It is something like this. See, let's assume these are the boundaries of a project. Okay, so we have operations here. Operations comes with a business case. Okay, now business case becomes an input to develop project charter process. Okay, then with this business case as an input, you create a project charter. So the moment a charter is born, it is project. Then you create deliverables, then project stops. Okay, you transition results, the project stops. Then you have only operations. You have operations this side and operations this side. So operations creates a business case. That is why PMBOK does not give a lot of importance to how to come with a business case. Business case is just described as an input to develop project charter. Business case itself is not described as a project management process. Business case development is not a project management process. It is something which operations does. Operations either faces a problem which it's not able to solve through its day-to-day operations, or it wants to take advantage of an opportunity, and for that it needs to have a project. So in either case, it is a operations which gives rise to business case. So we are not really concerned with creating a business case. But then business case is the DNA of a project. Business case tells us what is the business justification for this project. So when you create a project statement of work, again, which is your internal process in the project, this is not done by, maybe it may not be done by operations, or it may give you some nucleus of it. You have to come up with a complete list of what are all the things you have to do. So business case is some sort of a decision support tool. So typically what happens in a business case is, see, let's assume we are a CTO, okay, Chief Technology Officer, or let's say we are the CFO. So one of our responsibilities is to clear projects, right? So at any point of time, you'll have a large number of projects lining up for your approval. So which one would you approve? As we just saw some time ago, we are all focused on maximizing profitability for the stakeholders, isn't it? So I might have just, let's say I have $1 million as my budget this year for projects. But then I get some 100 project requests. When I total up the 100 project requests, it actually comes $10 million. So how do I decide which project would I put my money on? I have only $1 million, but I have requests for $10 million. So I have to decide how I'll fund this one, how I'll funnel my $1 million. So you need to have some sort of a selection criteria, isn't it? So each operations manager would come with a very strong case for a project. He would put up a business case in such a way that he would say that if you don't accept this project, the company is going to go down in sales, or its operations is going to be affected terribly, or you're not going to be able to improve your turnaround time. We are going to lose the competition. So each operations manager comes with a very powerful statement which a CFO or CTO would find it very difficult to decline. So how would you prioritize? For that, you have what is called as project selection methods. Okay, you have project selection methods. We have a few slides. We'll be discussing that later on. Okay, you have financial parameters. Okay, we have things like return on investment, net present value, okay, benefit cost method. You have some methods based on which you decide on which projects you have to approve. So in a business case, what happens is you have as is, then you have to be. Then first you state the problem. Okay, then you say what is as is and what is to be. Then in order to grow from as is to be, what are all the options we have? We may have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, a minimum of 5 options should be considered in a business case. And one of the options should be to maintain the status quo, because at times not making changes could be more sensible than making changes. So you have to even consider status quo as an option. So you come with a business case, you come with some 5 options and shortlist 1 or 2 options and recommend any one of them. Because if you just put a business case saying this is what I want to do, your CFO will definitely ask you, isn't there any other method of doing it? So you must examine a lot of alternatives and come with one method to launch a project. So that document is called as business case, right? Then agreements. If you have an external party, we enter into agreements. Then we know what is enterprise and organization. We discussed it already, isn't it? So this is a planning process. Therefore, enterprise and organization becomes an input. Enterprise could relate to industry standards, benchmarks, regulations, the type of people who are going to pre-assign to this project, you have to manage them, okay, that type of a thing. Then look at these 2 things, expert judgment and facilitation techniques. These are common tools and techniques for most project planning processes. Okay, expert judgment and facilitation techniques. Expert judgment is the type of expertise required to take a decision to launch a project. Okay, then facilitation techniques could be brainstorming, okay, group decision making techniques, things like this. And the output is project charter. Okay, now I'll actually give you an example. Okay, I was involved in a project charter committee where we came with a project charter. I'll take that as an example, and the whole thing will fall in place, okay, like a jigsaw puzzle. Otherwise, you may be wondering why business case, why statement of work and all that, right? See, I was working in a bank, okay, for a long time. So at one point of time, we felt that the bank's performance was slipping from being number 7 to number 11 or 12, okay. So we have around more than some 500 banks, okay. So we wanted to understand what was happening, right? So then we came to understand that our core banking system was being very creaky, okay. So it had to change, our turnaround times were more, so it was not being robust, okay. Any small problem somewhere, it would not work. Okay, so there was a limit beyond which you could really improve the capability of the system. So therefore, we decided we should go for a modernization. We wanted to replace our core banking. So that was a problem. We came with a problem. Then for that, we had to create a business case. Okay, so what we did is we identified very high-level stakeholders. The stakeholders, the business case considered a lot of options. For example, how do we raise money? Should we go for public issue? Or should we go for debentures? Or should we go for placing corporate papers? Or should we raise money through depositors? So we considered a lot of options, and finally we decided going for public issue of shares was the best option. So our business case was in favor of public issue of shares. Okay, so we had to now launch a project for raising money through public issue. So this was over. Then we came with a statement of work. So the statement of work gave a detailed description of everything that had to be done. Number 1, it gives us the high-level project scope, right? We'll go back here. We'll understand it better. Yeah, so we had to come with a justification of the project. So we had to state in the project charter that we have to revamp our core banking system. Therefore, we need to go for a project. Otherwise, our bank's performance is going to suffer in the days to come. Okay, that was a justification. Then we had tangible project objectives and related success criteria. So the project objective was that when we actually issue the shares, okay, we had decided on shares, isn't it? So when we actually issue the shares, it should be 100% subscribed. Okay, so that is also the success criteria. All the shares should be subscribed. Only then you can have that as a success, project success. Then what are the high-level requirements? High-level requirements are, number one, we had to come with some sort of a what do you call offer document. Okay, offer document. Then we had to come with some sort of a prospectus. Okay, prospectus. Then we had to come with shares. Okay, so shares. So these are all the high-level requirements. Then we had to list them in stock exchange within 90 days. Listing agreement. Okay. Then we have to get the government ratification within 30 days. That is another one. Okay. Ratification from government. So like this, we had to come with what are all the project requirements. Then we had a high-level project description also. So this description is to have 2 million shares of rupee 10 at 30 premium. Okay, so that is a description. Then high-level risks. So you had a very big risk. If the market sentiment turns adverse because of any reasons, it could be because of political instability or problem in the borders, okay, with adjacent country, anything. Okay, so if that risk happens and people lose faith in the public issue, we may get less than 90% of public subscription. If that happens, we have to refund the entire money back to the customers. Then our public issue would fail. The project itself would get derailed. So that is called as a high-level risk. Then we had a summary milestone schedule. That is 30 days for approval, then 30 days for issue, 30 days for refund orders, then 30 days for listing the stock exchange. Okay, so some summary milestone schedule. Budget. So we came with a budget. Then acceptance criteria or approval requirements. Who constitutes project success? Who signs off the project? Okay, that is there. Then we had to assign a project manager. In this case, the project manager had to be an institution. We had to appoint one big bank as a project manager, and we had described their authority levels and responsibilities, and the name of the sponsor, who was the chairman of the bank. So this is just an example of a project charter which I was involved in. Okay, I just wanted to give you this as a practical example so that you'll understand. Now we'll go back to this inputs. You'll understand what exactly happened, how we did this. So when we then we came with the statement of work. Okay, statement of work was a project description. Then we entered into agreements with another bank. Okay, then enterprise, we had to consider government regulations. Okay, then SEBI's regulations, Securities Exchange Board of India regulations. Then we had to understand what are the broker arrangements we had to have. Okay, a lot of things, enterprise factors. Then market conditions, they are also important enterprise factors, isn't it? We have to decide what is the right time to go for the market. When will the sentiment be good, investor sentiment be good? Then we had to apply our organizational processes for decision making, for templates, things like this. Okay. Then we had expert judgment, experts from government, then experts from stock exchange, then experts from SEBI. Okay, this is the one that approves, that's a body. Then we had experts from central bank. Then we had experts from treasury, then accounting, law. So all these guys, had to come together and lend their expert judgment if you have to launch this project. Then facilitation techniques, we had a lot of brainstorming, a lot of group discussions, meetings, right? And finally, we had a project charter.
I have a question here.
Yeah, yes.
So during any of the project management processes, if the tools and techniques that expert judgment comes, so the expert should be within internal organization or can be external organization, right?
If it is available internally, it is fine. Okay. Otherwise, we have to go and procure it from outside.
Okay. So some kind of confidential projects that some projects will be confidential. So like in IT industry, some product is coming which is very new to the market and don't want to disclose outside. So in these cases, like the external judgment is a kind of a bit risky, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's see, yeah, a lot of situations happens where we don't and we want to have we won't have a greater control over our own internal processes, okay, by keeping people outside. No, that happens. That's right. We have to be very, very careful. In fact, they don't even. We'll just take another small example. Like, see, when we go to client side, okay, we don't carry our source code, no.
Right.
Okay, let's assume we are. See, I was working in a technology called T24, core banking technology, right? So the owner of this product was actually Temenos. Okay, it's a Geneva-based company, Temenos. But in Capgemini, we were the implementation partners. We were supposed to be implementing Temenos core banking software. But if the customer asked for any local requirements involving any changes to business logic, Temenos would not give us access. It would say, no, let that request come to us. So we will do the thing. So any confidential projects like the one you're mentioning, I don't know if you have something like this in mind. So projects where we want to have greater control over our own production process, we'll not even bring anyone inside. Or if you bring somebody inside, we'll make sure that the guy does not outsource it to somebody else and does not legally divulge the confidentiality. Is it something like this? You're talking.
No, I was talking in general actually. So expert
Okay.
judgment, like, no, my question was like if like expert judgment always should be outside or it can be internal and outside anywhere.
It could be both. It could be
Based on the
both.
project.
Yeah, it could be both. Normally, we hire consultants, isn't it? See, consultants, normally they don't have an authority to take decisions. We just consult them on a need basis. So it could be internal, or it could be external, anything. The project I was mentioning, we had a combination of both internal as well as external. I was talking about this project for initial public offer, isn't it? So we had consultants from outside also, like chartered accountants, then people who were experts in law. Okay, we see projects. IT companies don't really hire legal experts. Okay, on a regular manner. So they go to outside whenever they have something to discuss. Then we had to appoint people from central bank. They were all outsiders. So that threat is always there, not being able to. If somebody divulges that, it's really a problem. But companies find ways to maintain this. See, there was one company here. Yeah, there was one company here called Eagle Dairies, okay, in Chennai. So our bank wanted to print some security material. Okay, it would be highly confidential security material. So they wanted me to just go to this place and find out and give them a report if it's okay. So I was just wondering, see, this company just publishes dailies, So when I went there, I was shocked. It was like a fortress. The CEO himself came there and took me inside personally. He's very sure no outside people come in. Okay, so when I went there, I found that they were all printing stamps for foreign governments. Okay, so such confidential type of stuff, they were handling. Okay, they could easily print some extra stamps, one ream of stamps and make a hell of a lot of money out of it if they sell it. Okay, so how they manage confidentiality is a real art. Okay, so I asked him, how is that they give you this contract? Then he said, no, there is an implied condition that I would not outsource it to anybody else. So it is all videographed. No, nobody can come in and go out without their knowledge. They're all, as we come and as we keep talking, people are monitoring who is here, who is not there. So that's a real big challenge. Yeah. Is that so? Do you agree?
Yes. Right. Thank you.
So this is how we come with the thing, develop project charter. Okay. So what are the things you should note in a project charter? It's a process of developing a document which formally authorizes a project or a phase. This document establishes a partnership or association between customer and the performing organization. So it identifies the project manager. It is recommended to identify the project manager while developing the project charter itself and make him participate in the development of the project charter. So PM can apply resources to project activities. Then generic enough not to change often. Yeah, we should not change project charter. Okay, it should be so broad based, right? Written and issued by a manager, higher in authority than PM. Yeah, the guy who's signing the charter should have the authority to apply funds, Okay. So it gives the objectives and business case and links the project to ongoing business strategy. Project charter information is used as input to other processes. Project does not start unless it has a project charter. Okay. Then this is a statement of work. There's another input. So what do you have in a business statement of work? It's a narrative description of products or services to be supplied. It can be received from customer for external projects or from sponsor if it is internal project. Okay. It becomes part of the contract. In case of external project, it may include technical specifications and should be finalized by the time the contract is signed. Okay. So it indicates a business need. That is market demand, technology, legal requirement, anything, right? Then it gives a product scope description. Then most important thing is it should connect to the strategic plan. See, the first thing the chief financial officer would look into while approving a request for a project is whether it satisfies our vision. Okay. For instance, not everything can be related directly to the vision. So the organizational visions could be something that is translated to your departmental context. For example, recently I was doing a sort of a prospecting with somebody, as a company called Daimler-Benz, So they just wanted me to see if we could make some suggestions to their project manual, project management manual. We were having a discussion. So he was telling me how he relates strategic plan of his organization to his departmental needs. So the strategic plan of the organization is to be a cost leader. That is, they must be able to produce the least expensive motor car in India. So how do you translate that into departmental objective? So we have to give them training and cost efficiency. He was a work package manager relating to training. So he has to translate that into his departmental objective. He said, my organization's objective is to be a cost leader. I would be achieving it by giving at least 7 days training to each and every team member on methods of improving cost efficiency. Okay, so it could be some sort of a strategic plan that's translated to the goals of the project. Okay, then you have business case. Yeah, we saw that. What do you have in a business case? Then you have agreements. Okay, so agreements relates to agreements means not just contracts. It also means other things like MOUs, letters of intent, letter of agreement. Okay, contract is what is signed by buyer and the seller. That is by the performing organization and the requesting organization. But MOUs are some sort of roving exploratory arrangements. See, for example, I was telling you of a project in our bank. Actually, we gave it to State Bank of India, but we entered into an MOU with several other banks. Okay, we just wanted to have an exploratory discussion, and finally we decided to give the contract only to one person. Okay, so MOUs are also in the nature of an agreement. Letter of intent. Once you finalize that this guy would probably be given a contract, you confirm to him saying, we are likely to give you the contract, so that he goes about his business of arranging for finances, working capital, things like that. Okay, letter of intent, then letters of agreement, then verbal agreements, emails. Okay, so all these together are referred to as agreements. Okay, then contract is a formally legal binding thing. So we'll be discussing about contracts and procurement management. Okay, so what is needed to get a contract? All that we'll be discussing in procurement management, not now. So these are the enterprise factors. We know what they are. Okay, government standards, infrastructure, human resources, personnel administration. Okay, work authorization system. What is this? When we create orders for people to go and report in their projects, use this work authorization system. Marketplace conditions, stakeholder risk tolerance, database, PMIs, okay, and organizational process assets, policies, standard policies, templates, approaches, historical information. So this is expert judgment. Just go through the same thing that we discussed. Pradeep, I think point 3 answers your question, isn't it? However, typically, expert judgment requires an expertise that is not present within the project team and may need an external group or person with relevant skill set or expertise to be consulted. Okay, I think this is what you're asking, isn't it? EJ is expert judgment. Stakeholders, customers, other units within the organization, professional and technical associations. We have institution of engineers, such type of people, external SME, project management office, consultants, any of these people. The facilitation techniques are brainstorming, problem solving, conflict resolution, meeting, coordination. See, these are all discussed in human resource management in greater detail. Okay. We've seen this. So, let's congratulate ourselves. We have, we have come with a project charter and we have launched off a project. Okay. Now, the next process we'll be doing in integration management is developing project management plan. Okay. Now, just let me tell you what this is. See, so you have a plan for scope, plan for schedule, plan for cost, plan for quality, plan for human resources, okay, plan for communications, plan for risk, procurement, stakeholders. When you combine all these plans into one, you call that as project management plan. So project management plan is not something that is distinct from all these plans. Project management plan is one big plan that combines all these. Okay, that's why you find the word develop here. See, here you can find the word plan scope, plan schedule, plan cost, plan quality. Here you find the word develop, project management plan. That is, you combine all the plans and you have one big master plan. Okay, that is develop project management plan. See, we use a technique here called progressive elaboration. See, when we start off, we can't expect to have a perfect plan, isn't it? We are just about having some idea of what the plan is. We haven't yet spoken to the stakeholders to understand what the requirements are. Therefore, we don't know what the scope is. Since we don't know what the scope is, we don't know what the activities are. Since we don't know what the activities are, we don't know what the cost is going to be and what the schedule activities are going to be. Okay. Since we have not got requirements, we don't even know what the quality stipulations are going to be. When we don't know any of these, we can't even plan for a risk. And we have absolutely no idea what type of people we require. When do we require? So we don't know what the human resources are. So once we don't know what the stakeholders are, we can't plan for communications, isn't it? How can we communicate with people whom we don't know exist? So until we know what the scope is, we will not know whether we can manufacture the whole thing internally or should we outsource. Should there be any procurement decisions we take? So we can't plan for procurements. We can't plan for stakeholders. So how do we go about it? See, that is why we have a process called progressive elaboration. First, we talk to the stakeholders and try to come with some sort of an understanding of what the scope is, what the requirements are. Then we document it and go back to them and ask them to confirm. They would say, yeah, this is what I meant, or they might say, no, this is not what I meant, or they may say it's a junk, whatever it is. So we create some sort of a documentation, get it approved by them, and this goes through several feedback loops. Okay, you give them documentation, get a feedback, change the documentation. This goes on and on for some time until we have some sort of a reasonable understanding. Then that's when we create a baseline. Okay, so once you know what the scope baseline is, then we understand schedule, cost, and other things. So this process is called as progressive elaboration. This is a mantra for project managers. We have to adopt this throughout. We cannot have the perfect plans to begin with. See, exactly against this, you have another thing called paralysis. Okay, paralysis by analysis. If you want to have a best plan, a total understanding, and until we have a thorough understanding, we will not start anything with a plan. I mean, anything with execution, then we'll only have paralysis by analysis. We'll not really have a plan at all. So we should always focus on progressive elaboration. Okay, so through several feedback loops, we try to understand what the requirements are. Then slowly we understand scope, schedule, cost, and from that flows all other plans, and we baseline. So once we start baselining, we have to stick to the change control. Okay, any changes has to be done in a formal manner. So as we execute, we may generate change requests. We might find some non-conformity. So once you have a plan, then we execute. Okay, we might find some non-conformity. Then we will ask for changes. So when we make changes to the requirements, or changes to the quality, or changes to the work packages, or changes to cost, schedule, whatever, we have to redo the plan, isn't it? So this happens throughout the project. Planning is not something we start off with and then forget about it when we execute. No, even as you execute, you make updates to your plan. Even as you monitor and control, you make updates to your plan. Okay, so this is the process we must adopt for coming with a project management plan. Okay, now let's just go for the discussion. See, what are the inputs here? The inputs are project charter. Because this is a beacon light for us, no? Imagine it's just some sort of a lighthouse, okay? You have a, that keeps beaming light you have throughout. So whatever is there within this project charter, only you can have in a plan. So that should constantly be guiding you. It should be like a Bible in your hand, okay? Project charter. Then outputs from other processes. What are the other processes we saw, no? It could be everything. It could be scope, schedule, cost, okay? So whatever reasonable baselines you have created so far, okay, those are the outputs. So those outputs. Then enterprise and organization. We know what they are. We don't have to repeat it every time, okay? So enterprise, organization. Then expert judgment, facilitation technique here also, right? Then we come with a project management plan. So why do you need to have a project plan? The key benefit of this process is a central document that defines the basis of all project work. That is the basis, right? If it's not there, it's not there in the project. So these are the outputs from other projects: scope, requirement plan, schedule plan, cost plan. We'll see what they are when you actually go to them, right? Expert judgment. Yeah, why do we need expert judgment? See, there are some 47 processes. We may not need to have all the 47 processes.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
What is the difference between the project charter and the project management plan?
Yeah, I'll tell you. See, project charter is some sort of a basis that tells you why a project is born, why a project was created. Okay, so it gives you a very broad overview For example, it could be something like you could define some high-level product functionality. It could be some, say, like looking at a Google map. Google, it is some 50,000 feet above sea level. How will that be? You'll hardly have any details. You only have some broad contours. You can know where is Asia, where is Africa. Okay, so, but it gives you the limits. It gives you the limits. You have to plan within these limits. So this type of a high-level document, which just describes the overall project success criteria, overall project risk, summary milestone schedule, summary budget, high-level stakeholders. That type of a document is called as a project charter. But plan is much more deeper. You go to the what you call very grassroots level. So you come with a scope, then you have a scope, you gather requirements, you come with scope, then you decompose the scope into work packages. For example, for a cycle manufacturing company, the lowest level of work package could be a bolt. One could be a nut. Okay. So then you decide, in order to create this bolt, okay, what are the activities you have to do? I have to purchase steel, I have to make a mold, I have to manufacture, I have to paint. So when you actually start planning, you go down to this level. That is, you go to the activity level. Once you know the activity level, you can know how much it's going to cost, how many people are required. Then you come with cost, schedule. Then what are the quality stipulations? So develop project management plan is a more granular, grassroots level, bottom-up planning.
Okay.
But a project charter is something very, very high level. Okay, but we still need a project charter, because whatever is not there in project charter, we cannot have in a project management plan. That's why we need to have it. Okay, for example, you might be you're in bankruptcy law, isn't it? Your applications for bankruptcy law. So whatever laws you may have in your domain, they all have to be in conformity with the nation's project charter. That is American Constitution. So that's why you always have a project charter guiding you throughout the project.
Okay.
Did I answer you, Jayanti?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So what do we do here? Why do we need expert judgment? Is we have to tailor the process to meet the project needs. What is this tailoring the process? See, we have 47 processes. So there might be some processes which we can combine, or there might be some processes which we may not need. Okay. So we have to apply our expert judgment and decide what modifications we have to do to the projects, to the processes. Okay. For example, you have in risk management, you have qualitative assessment and quantitative assessment. Okay. So if your project is not too big, and if the span of the project is only 3 months, you don't have to go for quantitative risk assessment at all. You can just do good with qualitative assessment. Just an example I'm telling you. Or you can combine both these processes. And you can combine some of the processes at varying levels and not completely. So you see, PMBOK is not prescriptive. It does not tell you you have to do this, otherwise you will be doomed. No, it tells you be sensible. You just take this as a framework and make changes according to your circumstances. Okay, so you have to tailor the processes to meet project needs. Then you have to develop technical and management details to be included in the project plan. That's why you need a lot of SMEs. For example, if I have to come with a schedule, how much time it's going to take. Only the guys who really do the work can testify that, isn't it? So you have to have management details, technical details, then determine resources, skill levels. As project managers, we must know what type of skill is required. So what are the latest things that are happening in the industry? Okay, so where do I get people of these skills? So you may have to hire experts to decide this. So skills, the defined level of configuration management. We'll be discussing this in another topic. What is configuration, right? So we have to define what it is. Then determine which project document should be subject to formal change control. So once you freeze requirements, that is, once you baseline something, any changes has to be through formal change control process. So what type of documents need to be going through that? Okay, we'll see that. Then the output is project management plan. defines how project is executed, monitored, and controlled and closed. It's a formal approved document or collection of documents. Okay, it is not just one document. It's, yeah. Why do you call it approved document? Only what is approved, okay, gets into a plan, right? So something that is drifting in limbo, not getting a sort of a confirmation, cannot be part of plan. Okay, once you plan it, it is baselined. Okay, that includes project management processes. It tells you what are the processes you have to perform, then how work will be executed, how configuration management will be done. Configuration is nothing but attaching numbers to product specifications and process specifications. Okay, for example, if I have a pen, or if I have an iPhone, I can say it is 5S. Okay, so the next one is something else. Then 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, then it becomes 7. Okay, so why 6.1, 6.2 should become 7 and not 6.3? So what is major configuration? What is minor configuration? How are you going to manage that? Okay, all that you have in a project management plan. And how are you going to do the reporting? You have to plan for that, communications. Okay, then how integrity of performance baselines would be. Performance measurement baseline is one word for scope, cost, and schedule baseline. Okay, when you combine all these three, you call it as performance measurement baseline. Why do you call it performance measurement baseline? Because through one metric, earned value management metric, you can combine all the three baselines and start measuring it. Okay, so it tells you how to come with baselines, then what are the key management decisions. Okay, so this is important. Project management plan is updated and revised through integrated change control process. So once you create a baseline, any change has to go through integrated change control process. We'll discuss how changes have to be managed when we go to this topic, integrated change control, which is two topics from now. Then the next process is direct and manage project work. Okay, so
sorry to interrupt. You can go
yeah,
to
tell
the
me.
next
No,
slide.
no, sorry. I'm purpose of you being here is to interrupt. Okay, have it that way. Yeah, tell me.
The
Tell me
previous project management plan that slide. So the
yeah, go to that.
all the approved changes should be there. Means,
Once again, I'll just go there. Yeah, tell me any point you're referring to.
yeah, the point I'm referring to, the second point, it's a formal approved document or a collection of documents.
Yeah.
But the earlier we discussed like this is a progressive elaboration document. Like as soon as other plans or other baselines are updated, it comes and updates here. So
yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So my understanding is the other plans are approved or other baselines are approved through some change control management or some other way, and then it comes back and updates here, right? So that makes it like approved document or a collection of documents.
You're right. You're right. You're perfectly right. See,
Okay.
That is what I said here also. See, in when we describe this, see, look at this slide. See, to us it may appear this we first come with scope, then we come with schedule. So this looks like a very orderly process. You have inputs, then you have outputs. Then that output becomes an input for something else. Then that becomes an output. That goes somewhere else. So the whole thing looks very orderly and beautiful here. But in actual project, we know how chaotic it is. See, in actual projects, that is what even PMBOK says. See, though it is arranged in an orderly manner, in actual project, all these plans are developed simultaneously. At any point of time, you will be having bits of scope, schedule, cost, quality, everything in place. Okay, but at some point of time, when you have repeated feedback loop from the customers, and this is reasonably going to be a certain plan, that is when you baseline. You get an approval from all the top management guys for the schedule, cost, scope, budget, everything. That is when a project management plan is born for the first time. Until then, you have a lot of feedback loops. But again, once the plan is born, any changes again has to be going through change control. Did I answer your question, Pradeep? Is this what you wanted to know?
Yes. So
Yeah.
I got it now. Thank you.
Yeah. So all these keep happening simultaneously at the same time. Okay. Though it looks like a very orderly process, all these happen almost same time. Then you have direct and manage project work. Okay. So what do we do here? It's simple. We put the project management plan as an input, then enterprise and organization. Okay, we'll come to this later. I'll tell you what it is, right? So then the tool we apply is expert judgment. We know what it is, and project management information system. What is this? See, the whole collection of tools we have, we may have something for requirement management, then we may have something for scheduling, we may have something for costing. Okay, we may have some quality tools. Okay, a lot of quality tools. We have around dozens of quality tools. Okay, then we have some communication management tools. So when you put, or you have some testing tools, we have testing tools. So when you combine all these tools, you call them collectively as project management information system. But ideally, they should all be integrated. Okay, so when you create some sort of a thing, it should, the output of one system should get propagated to all the other systems. Okay, so that you don't have to download data, go and update something else. So a good PMIS would be integrated at the project level. Okay, then you have meetings with team members, meeting with customers, meeting with the execution team. Okay, and the output of this process is you start creating deliverables. What are deliverables? This could be something, it could be an artifact. Okay, what is an artifact? It could be a requirement documentation, it could be a test plan, or it could be test results, or it could be a physical product, it could be like a car, okay, it could be a TV, anything. Okay, so, or it could be something that is capable of providing a service. Okay, for instance, you may have some sort of a system for running a transportation. Okay, some telecommunication system. Okay, so it could be something, a capability to provide a service, not exactly service becomes operations. Okay, so a capability to produce a service, or it could be some research report, anything. So any of these could be deliverables in your projects, right? Then data, work performance data is some data that is, for example, 10,000 cars produced. Okay, requirement document got signed off in 3 months, schedule 6 weeks, number of defects 505 for 1000 lines of code. Okay, so they are just data from which we can't infer anything. It is only when you actually compare this with SLAs. For example, we might have had 10 bugs. Okay, so when we go to UAT, they would compare it with number of lines of code, isn't it? So if the SLA is 10 bucks for 1000 lines of code, it is okay. If it exceeds that, they may have some cutback, they may impose some penalty, isn't it? Or they may ask you to fix the bug at our own cost. They'll not be earmarking time for that. We have to do it at our own cost. So actual bugs that you produce could be work performance data. So when you compare the number of bugs with what is there in the SLA or what is there in the customer specifications, you have work performance information. So when you radiate this work performance information through stakeholders, you call it as work performance report. Okay, so that type of a data is called work performance data. Then change request. For the first time, we are seeing what change request is. So I'll explain to you. See, a lot of organizations have policies relating to managing changes. Okay, I just downloaded a document for you. You can just go through it. See, So organizations have what is called as CAPA, okay, CAPA guidelines. Can you see this? There is corrective action and preventive action guidelines, right? So I'll make it bigger. So they tell you what is a corrective action, okay? What is a corrective action? Then what is a preventive action? I'll explain it to you, okay? Difference between corrective and preventive actions, okay? Then how do you identify corrective actions? How do you evaluate? How do you investigate? What are the analysis you do? Okay, organizations have formal documents, CAPA, right? Maybe you could just talk to your, PMO and find out if you have anything relating to CAPA for your organization. Okay, I can just share this document with you. We have lots of them out in the net. Cecile, Cecile, do you have any experience with documenting CAPA in your organization?
No.
Okay.
There's the lessons learned and documenting issues and risks that we have. Of course, it shows what the mitigation is for the risk, right? So
yeah.
So those are all documented for every project. And you
Okay,
have to open and close it. If you don't close it, it will go against you. You have to.
What is it?
Yeah,
can you explain?
You have to put the date. Yes. You're supposed to act on it. You have to put the name of that person or team as well.
Oh, I understand. That is you're talking about issue log, isn't it? You have to identify a person, assign that responsibility for that person. He becomes a responsible person. You allocate some time for him to execute that and come back to you and update you, isn't it? So it has to be closed within SLAs. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's one of the methods, right? Actually, what we mean here is change requests. There are three types of change requests. One is defect repair, then corrective action, preventive action. So these are the three types of change requests. So when you find that there is some sort of a non-conformity, let's assume we are buying, let's say, take a very simple example. Okay, let's assume we are buying a laptop through Amazon. Okay, so when you actually start, it doesn't boot, or some corners have been chipped off. So what do? We return it, isn't it? So if we return it, the guy would either replace it or simply rectify the defect and give it back to us, isn't it? So something that's fairly simple, okay, the way we describe, that's called as a defect repair. So corrective action is, here again, it is something that has already happened. In corrective action, we find that there is some sort of a non-conformity. So what we do is we investigate why this particular thing has happened. Then we try to do some corrective action. For instance, let's say we are developing something, a code, okay. So when we actually perform unit test, or when we do some system integration testing, we might come across a lot of business logic not being applied properly. We might have expected some business logic. We should have got some, say, we should have got the number 10, but we got the number 15. The business logic's not working. Okay, that's a defect. It is something that has already happened. It's a matter of fact, it's already happened. So in a corrective action, what we do is we react to something that has happened. So you make some sort of a what do you call cause and effect analysis. You find why this happened. Does it happen with a particular developer, or is it with a group as a whole? Do we need to have some training needs addressed, or do you need to have people with special skills in this particular unit? Okay, so what you do is you immediately rectify it. You log it into your defect log and correct it and deploy the corrected code back into the server. So that type of a thing is called corrective action. That is, you merely react to what has happened. And preventive action, what happens is, you do something proactively. Going by the current trends, you might come with an understanding that there will be a large variance. Okay, let's assume we have some sort of a production process. Okay, we have a production process. This is how values are moving over a period of time, right? Can you see this? This is how the values are moving. Then suddenly it starts going up like this. So if this goes, you may have some change in the averages. Average would be moving from here to here. Okay, so this is not correct. So something like this. So you expect some non-conformity to happen at a later date, and you proactively do something right now in order to prevent such a thing from happening. So that is called as preventive action. Or let's say our budget is, this is our, let's assume this is our cost baseline. Okay, we have a typical S-curve, isn't it? This is our cost baseline in our budget. So below this we have actual expenditure, actual cost. So actual cost slightly, it was inside this, then slightly it has started, then you expect this to go like this. Now you come with estimates that it may actually exceed your budget. So immediately you raise alarm, you make sure that you're within your budget. So something that you write now proactively in order to prevent something from happening at a later date is called preventive action. So these are three types of defect change requests. Okay, so whenever you have non-conformity, you must generate change requests. This change request would be processed by perform integrated change control. That is the next process. We'll be reading about it. Okay, but just right now we understand that these change requests would be processed by perform integrated change control process, and it would create approved change requests. Okay, that it'll say we have approved the change request. You go ahead, you go change your baselines, or you go change your production practices so that you can have new quality requirements, or go change your requirements so that you can change the baseline, scope baseline, anything. Okay, so once the changes are approved, they must again be executed, isn't it? You have to update the plan and you have to again execute, no? Let's assume something has been approved by integrated change control process. This becomes an input here. An approved change request becomes an input here. Once again, the output of that is deliverables. Okay. So now all of you understand this process? What is direct and managed project work?
Yes.
Any questions here? I'll just wait for you for 2 minutes. Yeah, Cecilia, you have a question? Yeah, go ahead, Cecilia.
Yep. In the application, are you talking of a methodology here that is like infrastructure related, maybe? Or because in the application development, software development life cycle, the project manager usually does not deal with the facts. So it is the testers and the developers that try to do something about it. And most of the time, like maybe 90% or 95%, it gets resolved themselves. They resolve the defects themselves. They're able to work it. So it never gets to the point where it gets, escalated to me, or they tell me, or I don't even attend defect sessions. I don't. It's only the developers. I can if I want to, but because of all the projects that I have, I don't have the time. So the developers or the testers would just tell me there's a defect ongoing. There's three. We resolved one today. We will resolve two tomorrow and stuff, hopefully. So that's the scenario. So I have never encountered in the years that I've been in IT where there was a defect repair that I had to do a change control. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah. No, actually, Cecilia, do you have dashboards? See, Maybe if you talk to your test manager, he would be, yeah, there's a hand raised. One second, there's somebody. Mabel, yeah, I'll come to you, Mabel. Just give me a moment, I'll come to you. So, so if you perhaps talk to your test manager, okay, he would be discussing about dashboards telling you what are the number of defects, how many were fixed, how many were not fixed, okay, how many were not actually bugs which failed in the triage, which were not classified as bugs but were actually defects, okay. So that type of report almost all the time they get generated to stakeholders. So maybe if you could identify yourself, I mean, if you could get things, see, this dashboard features, it gives selective people access, isn't it? Not everyone needs to have an access. So maybe if you could ask somebody for an access, maybe they would give it to you. So you can always, yeah.
There is usually an access to be able to get into those defects, and we get emails as well. Okay, it tells you the project, and then it tells you when the implementation date and what the defects are. It tells you that.
Perfect.
Maybe because I belong to a PMO, a program management office, and that's probably why. Maybe in the infrastructure project management, that is really, you really have to watch for those defects.
Yeah, that's right. See, actually, when I worked as an integrator, you know, the first thing I would go and check in the morning is the report from testing department. Okay. So the testing report would give daily reports. So it would tell us what is the access that was tested on that day. So I would have to look out for the test cases that I had given, you know, as an integrator. So how many of these actually passed? How many failed? Why it did not pass? So when we actually go into the tool, you know, and find out, the testers would have given the reasons why it has not failed. Or they might say, see, we don't have enough data for this. Okay, so go get us some data. Then we go to operations. Operations will not give us data. They'll say, we'll give you scrambled data. So we go and give scrambled data to these people. So we are involved in the process throughout. Okay, somewhere the other reports keep coming to us. We keep, we keep looped in the decisions, you know, that happens. But here, in a very formal manner, see, any changes to the baselines has to be approved.
Correct,
but
correct.
The question is,
in this particular defect, you have to change. You have to re-baseline this particular defect you're talking about. But and you mentioned integration. We have an integration team that handles the defect.
Exactly.
We're the one.
So one more thing is, I'll come to you, Mabel, just a moment. One more thing is, every single change, whether it's approved by change control board or not, okay, has to be documented. Okay, I can just give you a small example. See, we might be working in a large project. Okay, so a customer might just have requested for a change in a small label. Okay, or it could be a color of a label, right? So we might think that, see, this does not involve any change in the baselines. It's not going to cost me any extra time. Maybe if I just do that as the customer's request, he'd be pleased to give me the next project. So a lot of things I can help him. Okay, so but then we have to assume that we are part of a very large project. We can never really understand what the consequences would be of not documenting any change. See, we might just make a small mistake of changing a label. Or you might think, yeah, I've done it at my level, so it is not going to affect anybody else. But then, somewhere down the line, you might have a technical writer who has already taken a screenshot of this. So when you change the screenshot, okay, on the application, and if you don't involve the technical writer, you'll have a problem when you actually go for training delivery. Okay, so we may not be aware of all the changes that take place in a project, but we have to make sure that each and every change is documented. At any point of time, we must go back in time and find out what is the change that was done. That is absolutely important. Okay. Yeah.
But I have a project that I handle only defects, like 5 defects, and we go through the different software. We go through the phases of software development life cycle, except in testing, we don't do a pass two. We skip pass two. We just do pass one. So,
Okay.
and all we do is just handle the defects. Once it's fixed, it's fixed. We close the project and then we open another project for defects again for another application and stuff like that. So, and that's how the company
Okay.
handles.
Yeah, there are a lot of, yeah, I do know. I'm trying to understand what I'm saying. That is, if there is a defect that is pointed out at UAT, okay, see, it has gone through unit test, it has gone through system integration testing, it has been pointed out by the customer in UAT. So then what we do is we straight away go to the code, test it, and then deploy it straight away to UAT, isn't it? That's what you're trying to say. Something like that?
Yes, yes. And then we
Okay.
deploy dark.
Yeah, but then really what really happens there, no, Cecil, see, all the environment should behave in the same way. See, if we move a component into UAT, that represents the pre-production server, okay, the same component should be moved into system integration testing also. Otherwise, see, this is called as refactoring. See, if we don't refactor the code, if we don't change the code, without changing the external appearance, external behavior, we'll have a problem in the long run. See, we just deploy something in one server without making changes, without moving the same component to some other environment. Next time when we go, it will also behave differently. You're saying, what you're saying is absolutely right. Organizations keep doing that. You're right. Yeah, we also had a same problem in our organizations. Yeah. So,
So,
Mebel,
and then
yeah.
what happens is they put them in different, they deploy it in different releases, but they deploy dark. They don't fully deploy. You know, I don't know when the time is that they will do a full deployment, but that's what happens. We go in different releases. For example, March release or June release, and we put one defect on that one, and then the next one, and the next one. That's how we do it. That's how we handle defects.
Yeah, they're all big bang integrations, isn't it? They're all big bang integrations. They
Yeah.
happen once in 3 months, once in 6 months. See, really, you find a solution to all this in Agile, Cecil. See,
Correct.
you have in Agile, you have a concept called continuous integration. Continuous integration and 10-minute build. Okay. This is part of an XP discipline. XP, gives a lot of importance to scientific discipline in programming discipline. Okay, so what they do in XP is you may have a lot of branches. Okay, this may be a branch of a code. This may be a branch of a code. Okay, so you may have a lot of developers working on it. So this developer may take this code. He may check out and he'll put that in his local environment. Okay, then he will develop the code, test it, and then commit it back to the thing. So this happens almost 5 to 6 times every day, minimum. And the rule is every 10 minutes you must be able to build. You don't have big bang integrations there. Every code is just 10 minutes old. So somebody else, if he's working, he's just working a code that is 10 minutes old. You don't have any big bang integrations. If you're integrating some 100 components in one time at the end of 3 months or 6 months, we don't know how they're going to behave with each other. So that's a real big problem you have in big projects, but Agile has an excellent solution for this. Okay, they have what is called as continuous integration and 10-minute build. And when they build and if it breaks, immediately the whole lot of the team focus on that and they try to resolve it. So we need to change our project management methodologies. Okay, so that's really important. Thanks.
But I can't wait. I can't wait. I just got my Scrum certification. I can't wait to be in an Agile.
Okay, that's great. Okay,
I
you
just
got
completed
some certificate. Congrats. Okay, fine.
Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, Mabel has a question. Mabel, sorry, I made you wait for a while. Interesting.
It's okay. I forgot. When I remember, I'll send you an email.
Oh my God.
That's okay.
Was it relating to change request?
It was actually relating to, let me see, I think it was relating to, I want to say kappas and non-conformances.
Yeah.
And I wanted to put it in the big picture in terms of project management, right? Because user time was one of the most constrained one of the main constraint things, in project management, and it has to be really well controlled. So, I wanted to put it in terms to see, all right, some of these non-conformances, put in the big picture. What does it affect? Does it affect, I want to say, scope? Does it affect time? Does it affect budget? And how you go, in terms of proactively preventing that from interfering with your time, scope, or budget.
Yeah.
Did I make myself clear? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Because in the end, all of these little non-conformances that you're seeing at the bottom right, in the end, will accept your deliverables and the time in which you deliver your project, right? Isn't that the scope within which we should be looking at it as a PM?
Yeah, you're right. Yes, you're perfect. Your understanding is perfect. Yes.
I don't know how to frame my question. I had it back then, but I've lost it. I'll get in touch with you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just think of it next time and just come. Okay. So these are the different types of change requests. When you direct and manage project work, you create deliverables, and these are the different types of change requests: corrective action, preventive action, defect repair, and updates to project documents can also be called as a change request. Okay, let's assume there is some change in the baseline that has already happened. Okay, instead of 6 weeks, we have actually taken 8 weeks. So we are not actually formally seeking their permission. We are just asking them to ratify the change, okay, to maintain the integrity of the baseline. So that may just be an update, okay. And these are the approved change requests, okay. These are 3 different types. The tools and techniques are project management information system, meetings, okay. Yeah, you have something about meetings. We'll see what they are when we actually come to human resource management. We have some topics on that, okay. So just go to the slide. Enterprise and manufacturers. Let's go to the slide. It's the same thing that we discussed. So this is the type of data asset, deliverables related data and schedule dates, okay, start date and date. So it doesn't say anything about the baseline dates. It only tells you when did you start and when did you end. Then work completed, right? Technical measurements. It does not compare with what was actually specified by the customer. So it only talks about technical measurements. Then costs incurred and duration elapsed. It doesn't compare it with the baselines. Key performance indicators, okay? Updates to plan, documents updates. Then the next process is monitor and control project work. So what do we do here? Can we take this up next week? Can we break at this point of time?
Yes.
So we'll start off from monitor and control project work. Okay, then we'll also have a review of what we discussed today. So how was today's session? I just want to allot some time for discussions, free discussions. There should be some white space, you know. I should not just be talking. I haven't learned much from you people. So why don't you relate your experiences? Pradeep, Ola, Natasha, Mabel, Jayanti, Charles, Cecilia. So any clarifications, anything that you'll supplement, any of your views? Just have a freewheeling discussion. That will be very useful to all of us. Jayanti, what about you?
I actually worked as a programmer analyst with NBS, so I'm just trying to change the path. So I'm just getting knowledge only from your sessions. because I worked in Agile, I'm able to relate like what you're teaching us now. So I don't think I'll be more useful with my experience I have. So
Okay. Oh, you're in Agile projects, Jayanti?
yes, yeah.
So what you apply XP or Scrum?
Scrum.
Oh, great. Mabel, Natasha.
Okay, for me, at my level of participation, I've only been involved in, fragmented different parts of projects as one SME, and also in the tactical sense of executing the project. So basically, this is kind of tying in the different aspects for me. So I don't think I have really much to contribute, but rather I have a lot more questions.
Okay. Charles says it is useful. We would like to drill down deeper into discussions later on. Thanks, Charles, for that. Anyone else? What about Natasha? What about Ola? What about Pradeep? You're all done with discussions today? Anything
Yeah,
interesting?
I'm good with the discussion. Actually, I'm learning a lot. So
Oh, I'm also learning a lot from you people. But the sad irony is I'm not going to pay you anything, but you are going to pay. Okay. So, Natasha, I think, yes, it is mute. Yes. Yeah. Now we can talk,
Oh, okay,
Natasha.
I can
Yeah.
hear you. Yeah, I mostly worked on waterfall projects. So learning this agile and how it works on a day-to-day basis is a bit new to me.
Okay. Right. Okay. So thanks a lot. I think we are all. Yeah. There is a question again. Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot. I think we had a interesting discussion today. All of your collective participation really made it very interesting. Thanks very much for all of you. So we'll meet next Saturday. What time? Today's time. That is as per your, change. 1 hour earlier than what we have actually planned initially, isn't it? That way.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Next week, there will not be any mistake. I'll be coming on time. Sorry, apologies for what happened today. Okay,
No
then bye.
problem.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice week.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice week.
Thank you.
Bye.